to WCS Season 2 Finals. Oh yeah. Fabulous. Terrific first game from TaeJa. TaeJa was absolutely flawless in that first game. We are now going to move on to our second game. Let's just show you how the brackets worked out. If you're just joining us, where the heck have you been all weekend? We've had a fantastic tournament, but we're now down to the last three. TaeJa confirmed and into the grand final for that brilliant prize pot and the stunning trophy that I'm definitely not going to pick up. Okay, it's time to find out who's in our semi-final. You've seen the bracket already, so you know, but we need to introduce the players properly. So if you haven't been following WCS Season 2, why the hell not? But it's okay, because we've got your back. This is Bomber's Road to the semi-finals.
We have the man of aggression coming out from WCS Korea. This is going to be none other than TaeJa Bomber.
And we'll see how this can shape up as we are now ready to begin this game. I hope you guys are ready as well for this. This is going to be a good one. It's going to be Grubby. It's going to be Bomber. Two fantastic players head to head. A good storm, but does he have enough here? A blink backwards. He's down to 93 supply. He's not mining from many bases. He's taking a lot of damage now. There's no splash damage left. And Bomber just looks absolutely dominant here in the WCS Season 2, just crushing through. And Grubby, Bomber does it. Of course he does. GG. Bomber takes it 2-0. But that's good news for Bomber, man, who goes up against another Protoss player. He showed dominance in front of First, who I'm sure is having flashbacks of him losing so easily to Bomber. Look at it. He's saying, all right, the only way you can win is if you storm my army. But guess what? Can you storm everywhere right now? And this is a beautiful setup, a decent storm there. But it's not enough. It's not enough. And Bomber says, again, Season 2 finals looking pretty good for me.
Bomber is like insanely good. He's been playing fantastically. He did so well in WCS Korea. But Scarlet is looking like one of the best macro Zergs in the world this weekend. Well, here we go. The Banelings starting to roll in, and the Widow Mines go back down, but not the connections that he needs. GG! Wow! Whoa!
Scarlet just bulldozed the Bomber. Bomber playing a fantastic game number 2, altering up from game number 1 so greatly.
He's never going to run out of units at this point.
Nope, the Marines are just going to keep coming, and Scarlet's like, when does this end? And the answer's never. GG! Bomber ties up the series.
But Scarlet never stops the Mutalisk production. She's back up to 43. She's lost a ton this game as well. She is just on top of this.
This army, this 43 Mutalisks, she has more Mutalisks than Bomber has Marines at this point.
Oh my god. GG! Wow! Scarlet ties it up and brings it to game number 5. The 4th base is up for Bomber. He's dropping a lot of mules there. His income is insane. Oh, some more mutas going down. Scarlet can't be losing mutas right now.
No, she can't. Great connections for Bomber there as the Banelings move forwards. Don't get too bad connections as well, but Scarlet dwindling in supply in comparison to Bomber. There's a lot of Marines left over. Oh no, the Mutalisks go down. And GG!
And Bomber takes out Scarlet in an amazing series.
What a series we witnessed. Scarlet taking Bomber to the brink, but Bomber never stopping, never letting up with the aggression.
Let's give another big round of applause for Bomber from StarTail, moving on as the last semi-finalist here at WCS Season 2 Finals.
All of these players, all weekend long, have been playing at their very peak, as you rightly just said. And now we get to witness the clash of these titans.
And the first of those titans, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage, StarTail Bomber! And he goes head-to-head with a man who has already won 3 tournaments last summer, 2 tournaments this summer. Can he make it a 3rd in a row? This is the road to the semi-final for Summer TaeJa. We are ready to rock and rumble in our Group C matchup.
The countdown has begun. We're going to be in that game. Oh, God, I'm getting really excited, Rotterdam.
The biggest weapon of innovation has been dropping helmets on top of that army.
Well, here we go. This could be it. A huge drop going down on all the siege chicks. The Hellbat's actually out of position here, and I think this is it. GG! TaeJa with a victory like none I have ever seen.
Quite the result most people were expecting, especially TaeJa versus Innovation. After that 50-plus minute game, TaeJa has risen up to take on the challenge against DuckDuck.
And this is something that's horrible for DuckDuck as well. Like, DuckDuck is forced to keep these units out on the map. He's on 26 probes. This is basically a 4-gate with a little more economy, but that's about it. There are Widow Mines, there are bunkers, there are Marine. TaeJa is so well prepared for this.
GG. TaeJa moves on to the round of 8.
And once more, TaeJa making it into the quarterfinals of this Season 2 championships.
TaeJa versus Rain. What a third quarterfinal game. And this is it. Finally, after 38 minutes, the battle of the Titans will happen. TaeJa 160 supply. Rain is taking critical damage. TaeJa is pulling the stops here. And when the money has behind it, Rain is dying. GG. Wow, what a game. This is about to fall. TaeJa's ecstatic. I think he has that feeling, Todd. I think he has that feeling of a 3-0. More mules are coming down. Oh boy, 130 supply. The last Colossus is here. And well, the 4th Nexus is dead. It's 65 army supply to 21. Rain is in disbelief. GG. TaeJa applauds himself.
This 3-0 versus one of the best Terrans versus pros there. And look at him, he's so happy.
He's so happy, and the crowd are applauding his absolutely amazing performance.
It's going to be Liquid TaeJa moving on to semifinals, beating down Rain, who he has never beaten before.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage the smiling assassin, Liquid TaeJa. Okay, we're almost ready for semi-final number 2. Can it live up to the hype of semi-final 1? We're about to find out. Chobra is going to take us away and get some pre-game thoughts from both men.
Thank you, Red Eye. We're going to speak to these two fine young players one last time before one of them is done for the weekend. Now in the last semi-final of WCS Season 2. Let's talk to StarTail Bomber first and see what he has to say about this matchup so far. They've met a couple times before in Heart of the Swarm.
자, 어제도 말씀하셨지만 몇 번 이제 군단의 심장에서 상대를 해본 적이 있으세요. 오늘은 뭐 특별히 다를 거라고 생각하시나요?
VOD 분석을 해봤는데 아마 비슷할 것 같아요.
비슷하면 뭐 충분히 그냥 계속 이길 것 같다 그런 말씀이신가요?
네.
Bomber, I looked at TaeJa's matches, I analyzed them. I think the record's gonna stay the same. I think I'll just keep winning in this matchup against TaeJa. But Red Eye keeps pointing out, it's still summertime. What does TaeJa have to say?
그러면 윤영석 선수는 그렇지만 팬들이 태양의 신이라고 부를 만큼 여름에 굉장히 잘하세요. 오늘 여름이잖아요. 어떻게 생각하세요?
딱 우승하기 좋은 계절인 것 같아요.
I think this is a great matchup for me to take back that victory. It's summertime, guys. TaeJa versus Bomber. Now, I do want to ask, Bomber showed us a brilliant match yesterday against Scarlet. Of course, a Zerg, but nonetheless, great strategy. See if he has anything up his sleeve today.
어제 스칼렛 선수 상대로 5번째 세트 때 이거는 내가 한 번도 방송에서 하지 않았던 전략이다 말씀하셨는데 오늘은 그런 거 팬들이 기대할 수 있나요?
예, 하나 있어요.
There is one that Bomber has kept up his sleeve, guys. We'll see if we get to see it today against TaeJa. But TaeJa coming back from momentum too.
이번 대회에 뭐 그 전에 이제 최윤 선수도 이신영 선수를 이기셨었지만 이번 대회에서 정말 멋있는 장면으로 이신영 선수도 이기시고 테란전에서 다시 좀 돌아온 모습을 보여주셨어요. 최희성 선수 테란전 기록이 지금 군단의 심장에서 굉장한데 그 기록을 깰 자신이 있으신가요?
일단 깨야지 결승 가기 때문에 꼭 깰 것 같고요. 자신 있어요.
I have to break Bomber's TVT record to make it to the finals, so I guess that's going to happen. I need to break that TVT record to go on that grand final stage for StarCraft 2. Now let's get some last words from these players. 그럼 최진성 선수 이제 WCS 코리아에서 마지막으로 남은 선수입니다. 그 이름을 지켜야 된다는 생각으로 얼마큼 열심히 할 각오 좀 말씀해 주세요.
이제 북미 선수들 2명만 남았는데 한국이 최고란 걸 보여주겠습니다.
There's only 2 players from North America left now. I will show you guys that Korea is still the best. That's the last word from StarTail Bomber. Now one last moment for Liquid TaeJa. 벌써 이재영 선수는 WCS 아메리카에서 결승을 올라가셨는데 한국이 최고였을지는 모르지만 이젠 WCS 아메리카 최고다. 그래서 결승은 WCS 아메리카 선수 2명만 할 것이다. 그런 각오가 돼 있으신가요?
네, 아메리카끼리 해야 더 재밌는 경기 나올 것 같아요.
I think the final will be even more fun if it's 2 players from WCS America and not 1 from WCS Korea. Give it up for these 2 guys as they prepare for the last semifinal of WCS Season 2 Grand Finals here at Gamescom in Cologne, Germany. And let's start getting right into the game, guys. We're going to throw it over to the commentator desk with Rotterdam and Caleres.
Thanks very much, Chobra. Welcome back as we now get into our second semi-final of the day. TVT, TaeJa against Bomber. And I actually don't know how to call this.
In what way?
I just don't know who's going to win, man. I do not have a clue.
I think that's pretty much been the story of our entire playoffs. I don't know who's going to win it, but the funny thing is, whenever he does win it, you're like, yeah, because of this, because of that. There's like a unique storyline for pretty much anyone out there. Bomber, his TVT record is insane, not just against TaeJa, but throughout WCS Korea. He's beat so many. He was in that TVT group of death with Innovation, Flash, and Byung, and he was able to defeat all of them, even though when he defeated Innovation was already through. But TaeJa showed us this weekend that he too can defeat Innovation. And you know, if you look at the TaeJa, he was fantastic throughout WCS America Season 2, but there was one player who just kind of was a little too good, even though it was very close in the end. They went 4-4 in maps, and that was Paul. But still, somehow, some way, I feel it's TaeJa's moment. I don't know why, but this is, you know, I feel like it's written in the stars.
You feel it in your bones, man. Well, we'll see now as TaeJa here goes up against Bomber. Whirlwind gets vetoed out first, but it's a good point that you bring up with Bomber being so good in TVT. Technically, across Heart of the Swarm, yes, has an 89 win% ratio in it, but in the WCS system, in Premier League, in the tournaments he's attended outside of Premier League, he hasn't lost a single series versus Terran. There's been 5 of them, and he wins every single one. Now, can TaeJa flip that on its head and completely turn it around?
Somehow all results speak towards Bomber, but I still feel somehow that TaeJa is going to do this. I really don't know why. I think we're going to see a really close series. I would not be surprised at all if this is going to be another 3-2. I would not be surprised at all if we're going to see some more sick TVTs like we saw earlier this tournament. And I also think that both these players are going to be quite, you know, perhaps risky and going to switch it up quite a bit, because Bomber mentioned before, he's like, I looked at TaeJa's games and I think this is going to be okay. Of course, TaeJa knows this. TaeJa is going to play into this. He's not going to be predictable. I think we're in for a treat, that's for sure.
Yeah, those close games involving TaeJa himself against Innovation. Both of these players in the past 2 tournaments. TaeJa beating Innovation here. Bomber beating Innovation in WCS Korea. Really, really strong testaments to their skill. And now TaeJa looks to upset the balance. But I kind of have to, if I had to be put on the spot, I kind of agree with you. I think TaeJa here looks phenomenal. Bomber has to bring his absolute A game.
And you know, I've seen TaeJa win many tournaments and many important games, but I've rarely seen him that happy and sort of relieved as yesterday when he was playing against Rain. Even during game 2, even when the game just started, a couple of times you saw him go for like a deep sigh, like he was kind of nervous. I almost never see that at TaeJa, and I think he's carrying so much momentum after defeating perhaps a player that he considered to be invincible, because he said he was never able to defeat Rain before. He must be on such an all-time high, but then again, I guess so is Bomber, because so far this weekend has been going really smooth for him. He had a nail-biting series yesterday, but those are the best ones to win. And in his group, well, he was really damn good.
Certainly. I was surprised that during the map veto that we actually had TaeJa vetoing out Newkirk Precinct. He looked really strong on that map against Innovation. Maybe he felt that he was forced into a bit of an odd position in that game, and that's why it got to such epic proportions. But we do have our maps here. Star Station, Neoplanet S, Belshire Vestige, and then the other two.
Or maybe he vetoed it because he's like, all right, Bomber has probably watched that game last night and he probably tried to, you know, pick up on a few things. Maybe that's why I vetoed it. So I'm going to play on a map he hasn't seen me yet on before. The first map, however, is going to be Star Station. Innovation went Mac 3 times on the row against TaeJa. I don't think that Bomber is going to do that. I am really stoked. I think it's going to be a super fun semi-finals, and you know, I think we're all going to win in the long run.
I certainly agree. We all won in the first semi-finals. It was pretty darn cool, apart from one person, sadly. But aside from that, I think that this one will be a little bit closer. I was expecting the first one to be a bit closer, but now here, going into a TVT between two absolute giants in StarCraft, as we have TaeJa here on the screen.
Look at that win rate as well, and look at his recent results. Only facing that 2-3 defeat against Polt, who would then go on to win WCS America Season 2, which is barely 2 weeks ago, by the way. Like, it feels like it's a little while ago, but I was like, well, we flew straight from there to here. Other than that, Polt has been, or TaeJa has been looking really good. The only other player he dropped a map against in the entire season of WCS America was Maxet, and that was just a single map. That was a really kind of funny game. Other than that, it was just him and Polt, man. Him and Polt were a little better than the rest. Well, this tournament, TaeJa has been kind of continuing that. While Polt on the other end, a little more disappointing, but you know, can't win them all.
That's true. Can't rise to the challenge here if you're knocked out in the earlier rounds. But now here we have the man that is Bomber. Look at that 89%, and that is across the entirety of Heart of the Swarm. So Bomber looking very strong in this matchup. Hasn't lost for a long time here in TVT.
And the names in those lists are so impressive. Like, it's not just that he has an 89% win record against your average Joes. No, it's Polt, Innovation, Flash. It's just like, that's the absolute best of the best, and that is spectacular. But still, I think that TaeJa is carrying momentum. I think that he feels confident. It's going to be a close series. There's no way this is going to be sweep, or almost no way. I don't want to jinx it, but I wouldn't even know who is going to sweep who in that game.
Exactly. And you know, for me, a lot of times ZVT is my most anticipated matchup, and we're guaranteed to see that in the final. But then following that up, TVT is, I would say, my second favorite matchup right now. It's very, very action-packed. As you can see here, our first map will be Star Station, another large map correlating very, very similar to Whirlwind, but at the same time, cross-force positions here on Star Station.
And what's important as well, this map, A, there's a lot of airspace, and B, there's a lot of surface area in the main base as well. So those early Hellion openings, dropping some Hellions in the main base could be effective, and of course Banshees can be pretty effective. And you know, the Banshee has definitely been making a return ever since the most recent change. Overall, I think that TVT has become a super fun matchup. In the later stages of Wings of Liberty, I thought it was cool, but it wasn't necessarily my cup of tea. But ever since Heart of the Swarm, and the way that the matchup keeps changing as well, you know, one moment this is the flavor of the month, and then next up it's just completely different again. And even in the last 2-3 weeks, you see people switch it up. I think this is going to be pretty straightforward Green Tank, and I am pumped.
Oh yeah.
As a shout out to Elias.
Elias. Oh well, now let's jump into our second semi-final of the day, as we have spawning down to the bottom left-hand corner our Red Terran, representing StarTail and Korea. Give it up for Bomber. To the top right, our blue Terran, very apt in color, representing Team Liquid and Korea. Give it up for TaeJa! All right, Star Station. As we said before, cross positions enforced. And I love that in TVT now, you get those opportunities to pile on a lot of aggression early if you would like to, but then you can even transition into that macro game. A well-diversified matchup right now. And a big shout out to our lovely game observer, Mr. Funker.
Let's hope he won't hit alt tap today, and then we're all good.
Yes. Oh, he made me panic yesterday.
No, Funker's been doing a really good job. It's been a pleasure working with him, so indeed, all love to him. We can already see Bomber dropping his refinery, so that's a pretty damn quick one. It's before his Rex. Well, TaeJa on the other end is at least dropping his Rex first, and he's not showing us a refinery yet, but he might still get it soon. Or if it's going to be a no gas fast expand, that would be very traditional.
Yep, liking the wall offs as well, just to make sure that you don't take any damage early on. And even starts that second supply depot super quick to send that scout out.
Wow, that's kind of fun. It seems like he is going for a no gas fast expand build. What right?
At least he'll have Marines out to deny if anything comes along, but I think that Bomber might actually just say to himself, well, I don't really want a Reaper too much. He could quite easily, well, was the gas was before the barracks, right? Or,
yes.
Okay, so
it's pretty likely he wants a Reaper. Unless he's going to drop a factory immediately. But
I wouldn't mind seeing that. I mean, the gas times out really nicely. He gets 100 gas as the barracks finishes up, so that factory can go down really, really quickly, but TaeJa will be likely to see that if that does occur.
One Marine is going to produce, well, he's actually just going to drop down that factory immediately. This SCV from TaeJa is going to spot it, so that's a nice little scout here for our Terran from Team Liquid. The SCV is going to try to be annoying as well. Access denied from this point on.
Go away, you can't see anything else, even though you've seen everything already. But anyway, Bomber now just rocketing up to that. I mean, he has options still. He could technically go for Hellions, but I wouldn't mind seeing Bomber even just eke out those Widow Mines a little bit earlier here from this point on. And as TaeJa takes his double gas behind command center, so TaeJa looking for that little bit of a macro focus early on. I also like this from TaeJa, as it means we can see a little bit more of a prolonged game potentially.
Above all, I'm surprised that neither player made a Reaper, because I think this is one of the best maps for a Reaper opening, as there's so much surface area to just jump into the main base. Starport is going down. This SCV might actually be able to see it. No, it gets really close, but it's not able to see it. But what he did see is the tech lab. And now, obviously, if this is a Reaper, or if this is a Hellion opening, or in a bizarre scenario, a mine opening, but you don't see that too often, there will not be a tech lab at that factory. So, nice scout here by the SCV. Sometimes you see without really seeing it.
Exactly, the Banshees on bound here. They've really made a resurgence after the change, and why on earth not? It's a very, very good tool to use. That being said, though, we've seen a few Banshees during this tournament not do so well. But Bomber, he's calm and calculated. He's had the opportunity to play in a lot of these weekly tournaments, so he's not going to let nerves get to him here.
I would like to see TaeJa at least get one mine. I think those mines are really good against that Banshee. If it flies in once, the Banshee will pretty much die. Every now and then you see a lucky Banshee.
Yep, that's true. And he's just rallying all those Marines to the front here, adding on a second barracks a little bit quicker than I was expecting. So a little interesting deviation here from TaeJa to his normal rhetoric, as that factory does get added on as well. I guess, you know, going command center first leaves you a little bit vulnerable early on, so you want to add on that second barracks just so you can get those Marines for the earlier defense.
Well, despite I had a feeling that TaeJa pretty much identified what he was playing against, he's still going to throw down the scan, because I guess he's rather safe than sorry, and he will see everything that he was looking for. He saw that command center going down, he saw that tech lab going, he saw that starport going down as well with the tech lab. Something was spinning in the tech lab, but I believe it was cancelled. I don't think he ever researched cloak though, right?
It was Caduceus reactor just to try and fake his opponent out here. A smart move by Bomber, something that, you know, harks back to almost years ago in TVT nowadays. But we see it here once again as TaeJa, and he's preparing himself for what may be with a cloak, as he actually has a missile turret going down, but it's not going to be as useful as it would have been to deny cloak. He just kind of wards the Banshee away in an area.
He might actually make a Raven as well, because he's getting a tech lab on his starport right now. Here comes that Banshee down. That missile turret, despite not being able to spot the cloak unit, it's still going to serve some purpose, as it ushers this Banshee away a little bit.
And he does get the Raven as well, you're right. So Bomber also followed up with that just to keep himself nicely defended at the back. Also, auto turrets can be very useful in this matchup later on, or earlier on I should say. Later on, not so much.
I must say I'm a little bit surprised that TaeJa did not decide to drop at least a few Marines on the low ground, because he has a large group of Marines. There's almost no way that the Banshee wants to start microing back and forth against 5 Marines on either the high or the low ground. And even if he does, you know, losing a few Marines here and there is not that bad, as long as you keep your SCVs alive. As silly as it is, I think that Banshee has already paid for itself. That's 5 SCVs, and he didn't even have to invest into cloak, so yeah, why not? And he might actually be able to get one more at least. Wow, Bomber is doing this super well so far. It's 7, 8, 9 SCVs even on a single Banshee, and it's still alive.
Very nice control. The Raven follows it around. He still thinks that there is the potential for cloak, and Bomber just hasn't seen the opportunity to use it. But not only killing off those workers, forcing the missile turret, that has done really not much. It's zoned out a little bit, but that's it. Whoa! Also for doesn't kill it in the end.
Man, and Bomber is actually marching across the map right now with a pretty terrifying army. That's 32 army supply against just 21 for TaeJa. He's going to be able to get siege tanks up as well, even though there's so much room. Wow, this Banshee just does not stop. Bomber is all over the place.
This is fantastic.
At least with this Banshee.
Yeah, this is really impressive here by Bomber, keeping it still and limiting his opponent's income quite nicely. 13 workers been killed.
He hasn't lost a single unit yet. So far, Bomber has not lost a single unit in this game, and he has killed 15.
So impressive right now. Well, and Bomber looking to move through the middle of the map. How many tanks does he have with this? He has two. That army is actually really strong here by Bomber. If he gets the opportunity to set himself up, there's only one siege tank for TaeJa, so that kind of slows down Bomber a little bit.
I actually felt if he would have gone immediately, it would have even been scarier, but he was waiting a little bit in the middle of the map and he was still harassing with the Banshee. And of course, you know, that did do something, but it did give TaeJa the time to at least get one tank in position. Now, he has the second tank on the high ground as well, so I guess that he's going to be fine, as I've seen.
Oh, that one Viking is a game changer here, so Bomber has to be a little bit careful about what he's doing here, but that's a lot of Marines moving forward here for Bomber. He actually kills off a lot of TaeJa's Marines, as do Bomber's die, but at the same time, 38 army supply to 12. Bomber has reached this location. GG!
Bomber with a pretty much flawless game here on Star Station. It's absolutely fantastic from start to finish. Sets himself up for that little push with that one Banshee, which like paid his way in gold, but then 4 times of it as he got like 16 kills, and Bomber made that look really, really easy.
You bring up a really good point. Almost a flawless game, because TaeJa during that game only killed 5 units, as opposed to Bomber. Yeah, exactly, just Marines, as opposed to Bomber, who killed 33 units. What great understanding of the matchup Bomber has here.
That's actually kind of the last thing that I expected.
Yeah.
And I really think it all started with TaeJa keeping all of his Marines on the high ground. I really think if he would have just kept a couple of Marines on the low ground, then sure, maybe that Banshee starts being annoying and starts picking away at a group of 4 Marines, and you have to micro a bit and you're going to lose 2-3 Marines. But you rather lose those Marines than that you lose all those SFVs. And in the end of the day, he wasn't even able to catch that Banshee. That was flawless by Bomber, but you know, as a player, you're just gonna have to take those games. It's like, all right, everything went wrong in this game. I rather have that everything went wrong in one game, then a lot of things go wrong in the next 3 games. Just refocus and go again. New Planet S, new map. Forget about that first map if you're TaeJa.
Exactly. Maybe we'll just see him feel a little bit more comfortable here, depending on what happens. But at the same time, Bomber has shown that he can be very aggressive to the point where he's pinned up against the wall. Now, how does he react to that in game number 2? What do you think of Neoplanet S here?
I think it's going to be an interesting map. I think it's hard to say if Bomber would go for a Banshee opening once more. I think a Reaper opening from either player is pretty likely.
Yeah.
Above all, what I do think is really fun in TVT these days is that you see more and more of these unorthodox pushes with super quick siege tanks, just like 1 or 2, like, hey, if you don't have anything yet, I might have more than you. And that's something you see more and more. And if you go play against a player who goes indeed for a quicker command center, that means that the attack is a little bit delayed. And sure, your gold is a little less economic, but you do get those quicker siege tanks out, and TVT, you can definitely do something with it, and Bomber showed us.
Well, here's Neoplanet S, guys, as Terrans. They do pretty well on this matchup, but in TVT, it doesn't really matter. I got you there, but at the same time, the smallest map in the map pool. So there is certainly opportunities for a lot of aggression, but I like what you said about maybe not seeing too much Banshee play. There's not as much airspace behind these bases as there is on a map like Star Station.
Completely, I totally agree. So we will see. I think it's very likely that at least both players are going to stabilize on 2 bases for a long time before we actually see some real engagement, because, you know, TVT can be very unforgiving, like most mirror matchups, but certainly TVT these days in particular.
It's all about that trophy here. Both of these players want it so badly as we now load up into game number 2. TaeJa has to bring himself back here against Bomber, because in that game, Bomber looked scary. So let's get in to see if TaeJa can tie up the series here. It's all so important. TaeJa a fan favorite here as well. All these players are fan favorites.
Bomber as well, man. Bomber is a fan favorite everywhere he goes. I mean, Bomber has been around for such a long time. Of course, we talk a lot about TaeJa and his success in the summer months. Has won like 5 major tournaments. But Bomber, on the other hand, like, he's been around for 3 years now, and he at least gets top 4 finishes everywhere.
Yeah, he does. It's Bomber's law, man. Can he surpass that today? As we have spawning up to the top right-hand corner, the man himself, in red, representing StarTale and Korea. Give it up for Bomber! And to the bottom left, the man that needs to tie things up. Representing Team Liquid and Korea, give it up for TaeJa! I would like to see a Reaper. As you mentioned, I would love to see the Reaper from probably both of these players, but Bomber has once again opened up with a gas first, which is far more indicative of that tech route.
You know what's actually the most shocking thing about Star Station when you think back about the map is that TaeJa identified everything from start to finish. First he got the SCV scout down, and then later he wanted to be sure against what he was facing, and he threw down the scan and he saw that starport, he saw the factory. He knew everything from start to finish, yet he really got surprised. I mean, he didn't see that little follow-up footage, but above all, the fact that that single Banshee did so much damage, it's kind of weird when you see it coming, and not just once, but twice.
Yep, it's a tough thing to deal with here. TaeJa's shown good Banshee control in the past if he were to go for it, but that's not going to happen here just yet. As his gas was a little bit later, it would be much more of an inefficient build from TaeJa if we were to see that. So he's just going to go for something a little bit lesser in terms of tech and try and defend if Bomber would want to go for that.
Yeah, TaeJa immediately walls off, just like he did on Star Station, drops that supply depot, even though he doesn't want to finish it, but he just wants to make sure that Bomber doesn't get an SCV in his main base. And Bomber is just opening the same way as he did in the previous game, get a really quick refinery and then drops the factory ASAP. He's not really bothered with scouting for a little while. He's going to try to send something across the map, perhaps just going to spot for proxies, because I don't think that SCV is going to be able to see anything. And there we go.
Yeah, not too much. Marine comes out and pokes him away, and aside from that, here now TaeJa back at home, adding on the reactor pretty fast to this barracks. I'm kind of surprised by that. I guess he just wants a lot of Marines out for that initial defense.
Yeah, he's saving up quite a bit of minerals as well, so he's going to follow this up with a command center. So it's kind of the same as in the previous game, but just a little bit different. Perhaps he feels like he didn't have enough Marines to deal with this Banshee, which I really don't think was the case, because I think he had plenty of Marines. He just didn't have them positioned properly.
Yeah, exactly. He just didn't, you're right, he didn't have them positioned properly, and to be more specific, I guess separated in a better way. If you have them at the back of your mineral line at the natural, whilst a few at the back of the main as well, you can deal with that a lot better. But now that starport is on the way for Bomber, along with that tech lab, and it's about to start again.
Yeah, never change a winning team, right? Bomber is like, hey, that Banshee in the last game, that worked out pretty well, let's try that again. I'm pretty sure though that TaeJa is going to be much more prepared. Also,
yes.
I still think that one Widow Mine would have been like kind of nice, because even though you're not going to be able to connect with your mine to the Banshee, because of course Bomber is really good and he's not just going to idle above the mine, you force the Banshee to run away from it all the time. Oh, this time however we do see Cloak being researched, something that Bomber didn't do in the previous game.
And this could be a really cool fake out. If we see TaeJa being a little bit, you know, not actually getting the scout off, he'll drop the scan, he'll see that again, and he'll be like, are you going to fake out again? What is going on here? So distilling a sense of insecurity in TaeJa's mind right now if that does happen. Oh, there's that Widow Mine. Ah, lovely.
At least one Widow Mine.
Yeah.
Command center finish up for TaeJa as well. It's going to morph it into an orbital immediately, while Bomber's Banshee is almost out. So that's pretty much going to be the first scout in this game for Bomber as well. I love how blind he plays. He's just like, I'm doing my thing, and with my Banshee I am going to scout and I'm going to deal a lot of damage, and after that we will see.
I mean, there's so many builds that you can go for in TVT that you can play blind and still be very well defended. The Raven is super indicative of that. Drops the scan, sees the Cloak, is researching. Now, maybe TaeJa dropped this scan a little bit later to see if it was still just churning away, right? Because if he dropped the scan earlier and then started it, maybe it would have looked like a normal Cloak timing, but at this time of the scan, he's thinking, actually that is a full commitment to Cloak.
Oh, that Banshee's gonna fly straight into this Widow Mine, and that is why that Widow Mine can be so useful. The Banshee is still alive, but only with 15 HP, and this is already a much, much better scenario for TaeJa.
Yeah, very much so. Adds on the missile turret as well, knowing that that Cloak is a viable option for his opponent, so a great start for TaeJa, as you rightly pointed out.
I love how he just did it, like burning the Widow Mine in the natural over there. I was like, I wonder if like that's the best position to do it, but that's like not a position where you would expect a Widow Mine. Meanwhile, this Banshee is still going to town a little bit, picking up 2 SCVs so far, and forcing a cancel on this missile turret, but there's no way in hell that it's ever going to be as successful as it was in the previous game.
Still good control by Bomber though, keeping this alive, drops the scan and does not get it. Oh, that's a costly investment. But at the same time behind this, Bomber, he has to keep that Raven alive.
Oh, this Viking might actually be able to high-five the Banshee. You can see TaeJa actively clicking all around the map. He really wants to find that Banshee, but he's barely going to miss it.
And the Banshee looks like it's wanting to come back and get repaired here. Running in opposite directions.
I hear something.
Yeah. Doesn't want to be anywhere near that. And but Bomber, important to note here that he still does not have a second command center. So
that's
from this
different than in the previous game.
It's I think that, you know, Bomber here just going for a big assault once again. He's trying to claim the air advantage with a good Viking number, something that TaeJa invested into early on. And if he can kind of overcome that position that he saw, which was TaeJa was doing in game number 1, then maybe he can actually break this front again.
Scouting is going to be everything for TaeJa. He has not spotted these units march across the map right now. Bomber pulling SCVs as well. Man, he is so reckless. Whether he plays TVP or TVT, he just goes for it whenever he feels the time is right. This time, however, TaeJa's start was much better. He has the tank already in position. And as long as TaeJa buys time, like the most important thing for TaeJa is going to be, don't fight immediately. Sure, let him get that sort of scary contain up on you. It doesn't matter, you're mining off 2 bases. The more time you buy for yourself, the better it will be in the long run.
Also, point defense drone might be very important here, as he's getting just 100 energy. He needs to keep these Vikings alive here, as the fight is going to happen. Point defense drone, point defense drone, the worst fight of all time. And now with those tanks shelling away at that bunker as well, TaeJa needs to find a way out.
Well, TaeJa has a couple of SCVs here, and he's repairing that Viking. And TaeJa, well, he's going to lose the Viking in the long run, but still, he has an HP advantage, and that is something. And it seems like Bomber is going to abandon this mission for now. We can see the command center in production as well on the other side of the map. TaeJa holds, stabilizes, however you want to call it, without taking any damage.
Siege tanks in not too bad a position here, but the air advantage still. Oh, kills off the Raven. Not too bad. Bomber army supply 46 to 27 right now. He's playing this very patiently, very safely. He forces one of the siege tanks back. He's in range of that command center.
Yeah, but that's okay. TaeJa can just repair the command center for ages, as long as he doesn't lose any siege tanks like he did before. One of his tanks taking a lot of damage right now. TaeJa has to keep those tanks alive.
That scan was so important, killing off that Banshee, making sure he doesn't lose any more of those siege tanks to that fire. TaeJa playing this defense really well.
This is perfect right now. He's 9 workers ahead, he's stabilizing. These tanks are getting a couple of annoying shots up, but that's okay. TaeJa severely outmining his opponent. And above all, he still has air control. He has 3 Vikings over here. As soon as that Raven takes a few more shots, he can just park a tank on the high ground, and that high ground is going to secure TaeJa's natural. Beautiful defense by TaeJa.
Exactly. Absolutely fantastic analysis of that position. As Bomber gets pushed back, and TaeJa now is free. He's free to do what he wants behind this, and he's macroing up a nice army. Needs to repair a supply depot.
Bomber is still getting like a soft contain on his opponent, but this is not a position where he wants to find himself in. He even pulled some SFVs across the map. I do like that he identified on a certain point. He's like, okay, it's very unlikely I'm going to win the game right here and right now. I'm going to drop an additional command center on my own. But of course, he is economically behind. 10 workers in TVT, that can be a world of difference.
And I mean, time and time again in this tournament, we've seen Bomber be super aggressive. Now, that aggression has subsided for a little bit, but I can guarantee you in this mid game here, Bomber is going to look to just macro up and try and be aggressive again. Good shots on these siege tanks here. Drops the scan against these Banshees. Kills off one of them just barely in the end, but a lot of siege tanks are dying here for TaeJa.
That's a beautiful flank here by Bomber. He has an overwhelming amount of Marines, and he's actually able to pick up those 3 tanks from TaeJa. TaeJa getting a little reckless there, or perhaps overeager. Now he's going to pull out the SCVs. I really don't think you have to do that.
But at the same time, Bomber was not sieged up, so this is not too bad for TaeJa here, as he will force this away. He was lucky with that, though, as they're actually going to turn around and fight here, trying to get a few SCV kills.
Look at those SCVs drilling away at the tank. He's like, all right, let me unscrew the wheels.
That was so weird, man. He was like, I can't do this anymore, I've just got to go. I guess he felt that his siege tank disadvantage was too much for him to stay contained on 2 bases. So it was by the by. He gets out in the end.
Yeah, Bomber had a massive Marine lead. Now he still has a small Marine lead, but TaeJa slowly but steady catching up in the Marines. Above all, the important upgrades to make this Marine so much stronger are going down on either side, but we can see, actually Bomber is a little ahead in those upgrades, which surprised me. But TaeJa is on double eBay, that's nice.
Yeah, that Banshee has to be very careful about where it moves. That missile turret will provide the vision, and a lot of vision. It's a very large radius, and Stim versus Stim about to finish up as well. So going into this mid game, very even, I would say.
TaeJa hasn't been producing SCVs for a long time, and this is not a mistake. This is something that he's doing on purpose. He lost a few SCVs to this Banshee. He has not been producing SCVs for a good solid 2 minutes right now. This gives me the feeling that he just wants to win this game. Bomber didn't identify this yet. He's actually marching across the map, thinking like, hey, that went pretty good for me, but perhaps I have to do a little more to really catch up in this game. The opposite is true, however. Bomber has an SCV lead right now. If he pulls back, if he stabilizes, it's going to be hard for TaeJa to run into him. Man, this is so awkward. They're like running circles.
Yeah, exactly. He leaves as he enters, and now actually he could catch off some of the valuable units here of TaeJa in the reinforcement.
Stim is ready on either side, but there are 3 medevacs on the side of TaeJa. I think this is like a best case scenario for TaeJa, because he's going to be able to get his fight in not a defensive position here for Bomber, but of course those tanks are sieged.
Exactly. Bomber now is kind of zoning TaeJa out. How is TaeJa going to get around this? All those Marines are laying waste to this expansion. He has to go for it. He's going to lose a lot of Marines in the process though, but he kills off the siege tanks.
But he has 3 medevacs, and medevacs are so important in fights like this. TaeJa will be able to clean this up, and he has a massive army supply read line now. Actually, it's not that massive. It's 41 against 33, but he is down 14 workers, and TaeJa is still not producing any SCVs. TaeJa wants to win this game in the next 2 minutes, otherwise it is going to be damn near impossible.
Yeah, he's sending the big drop along, but the Banshee has spotted those medevacs moving into the middle here. That's a lot of Marines that could shut this down.
Yep, there are 20 Marines. 20 Stim Marines is easily enough to snipe at least one out of these 3 medevacs, and then he can clean up the rest with a drop. TaeJa is still going to go for it though.
Oh, he's trying to throw down the missile turrets. Where are the Marines? He sets up the siege tanks on the high ground. The Marines are out of position. This is good for TaeJa. Those siege tanks sieged up nicely.
Is it enough though if he pulls all the SCVs? I actually think that Bomber is going to have enough units here to stabilize. Where is his stim? Why is he not stimming? He doesn't want to stim.
Well, I guess he's going to clean it up in the end, but that now equalizes things up quite nicely. 32 to 39 workers in favor of TaeJa. This is so back and forth.
And now TaeJa is like, all right, that was pretty good. Let me start making SCVs again. That was like the most awkward pause of 4 minutes to produce SCVs, but excellent read here on the game from both sides though. And I do think that Bomber didn't stim on purpose because he didn't have medevacs?
I guess so.
And then his Marines would have died too early?
I mean...
And he doesn't have combat shield either.
And he loses another Banshee.
Okay, I guess that makes sense. He doesn't have combat shield. If he stims, he only has 35 HP, then the Marines are just going to die really quickly against the tanks.
It's a huge disadvantage to be out there if you actually go into that engagement like that. Nice siege tank fire from both sides, but at the same time, Bomber getting a lot of Marines there.
Yeah, getting a couple of really juicy free shots off on those Marines from TaeJa. TaeJa still desperately trying to get 1 tank at least in range of that production facility, but that is not going to work for now.
Army supplies in favor of Bomber right now, but the upgrade lead heavily in favor of TaeJa with +2 weapons just about to finish up against Bomber, who only has +1 weapons and no armor. So this double engineering bay has been great.
Yeah, and Bomber is actually not producing SCVs right now, and that's already ever since he lost all those SCVs. So Bomber is going to be in like the reverse scenario, or it is going to be a reverse scenario of what we had a little while ago. He has a bigger army supply lead than TaeJa had though after that little fight. 25. Then again, a defensive Terran is really, really hard to break. I am very curious to see how Bomber is going to try to make this happen.
He's looking to move out now. If he catches these Marines in a bit of a bad spot, then maybe he can actually do a lot of damage. Sieges up across the high ground.
He has 46 Marines against 20-something Marines of TaeJa right now. Gets 2 really nice shots off on those Marines as well. And I kind of wonder when TaeJa is going to realize what he's playing against. If TaeJa knows that this is still Bomber on 2 bases who's not producing any SCVs, there's no way he has the urge right now to defend 3 bases, but he doesn't know this yet.
81 army supply against 90. He's going to separate these siege tanks up, siege them. Nope, the Marine at the very back does get away there. So,
well, the SCV train is coming once more as well. Bomber is going to go all out for the 2nd time in this game. TaeJa does have a couple of nice tanks here on the high ground. That's going to be hard for Bomber to deal with.
Oh, simming up, taking a few extra shots there, but there's not many Marines for TaeJa. If those go down, then the tanks are going to be left completely exposed, along with those SCVs moving on forwards. He's killed off a lot of the Marines of TaeJa.
That was a beautiful attack so far by Bomber, but this is going to be enough. He lost a lot of Marines. Those tanks were definitely positioned very well. TaeJa's Marine kind of seriously dwindling though.
His army's still very, very small in comparison. 60 army supply against 34. And the planetary fortress is at that 3rd base, but he's going to lift everything up, go to the main.
And that's definitely the right decision. Bomber has to cut off this reinforcement. TaeJa is outmining him very badly right now. Tanks sieging up, Marines stimming right now, everything or nothing.
Oh, how well can he actually deal with this? The SCV is going to have to fight furiously, but the Marines, there you go, GG! Bomber makes it work back and forth. So good.
All weekend long, I've been amazed by Bomber's game sense. He just knows whenever he is ahead or whenever he's behind, and he knows when he can actually go for that finishing blow. And it's just amazing. Every single time he feels he can go for it, he is right. At least in all of his TVPs, and now it seems like in his TVTs as well. He's producing SCVs on a moment where it was okay, and then suddenly he just stops and he wins. And I must say, the way that he split off like 5, 6, 7 Marines to focus down those 2 tanks on the high ground, that was really beautiful. Because if he wouldn't have done that, those tanks would have got more shots off, and it would have been a lot harder for him to actually win that fight.
if this series ends in a clean sweep for Bomber and he advances on to the finals, we have Bomber's Law going up against Jaedong, who has established himself as a Kong. So regardless, someone wins. If it gets to that point, someone wins who is in a great spot. But look at TaeJa here in this game. His reactions, he's not happy with this at all. He felt pretty comfortable in that game, I would say, up until the point where...
No, and I can't blame him. This was a very odd moment for Bomber to suddenly stop producing SCVs, never take a third command center. That's just not something that most Terrans do, you know, because it's really hard to attack into the Terrans in general in TVT. But he had a nice army supply lead and he just decided, hey, if I go for it right now, even if I take like a semi-bad fight for myself, it's okay because I got so many more Marines. Like his Marine count was close to 50 while TaeJa was mid-20s. And yeah, then you can take a couple of free volleys from tanks and still come ahead.
All right, game number 3, Belshir Vestige. Bomber with his relentless aggression across all matchups and now transitioning that into TVT is looking really strong. TaeJa, though, he has the ability, he has the patience and the concentration to bring this back. We've seen it many times during this tournament. Against Innovation, his strength was so good. Can he do it?
Most of the time, TaeJa is ahead, though, in the series, and now he's down 0-2, and that changes a lot.
Yeah.
That changes everything.
That really does.
Even the strategies you go for most of the time.
All right, so we are just waiting now for these guys to get fully ready for this game here. As that trophy, I can't help but emphasize that trophy is one of the sexiest trophies I have seen in a long time. I want that trophy.
I love it as well. I won it, but I don't deserve it. So.
No, we'd have to beat either TaeJa or Jaedong or Bomber. It's kind of tough, right?
Maybe in a year or 6 when they're both, when all of them are retired.
They're all gone. It's all us.
So he's like, hey man, you want to play me? You've been practicing for years and you still end up losing. Either way, the next map is going to be played on Belshir Vestige. I think, you know, in general, that's a pretty good map for TaeJa. We can see Bomber there took a small break. He's like, yeah, I'm up 2-0. You guys want to clap for me?
Well, I think the crowd is favoring TaeJa quite a lot here, but at the same time, Bomber, as we said before, all of these players, big fan favorites, and a lot of people have been rooting for Bomber in the past. He, for the most part, I think he almost established the Red Bull sponsor of StarTale almost all by himself.
Yeah, he went to a lot of foreign tournaments.
Yeah.
He has a lot of foreign fans. Of course, he won MLG Rally, I believe, back then. That's a long time ago, and ever since then, he's been around. He always travels a lot. Every now and then, he has those big runs, and we're like, wow, this is Bomber going to be, or this is going to be his first massive victory, even though, like, Rally back then was cool and big, but the prize money wasn't as huge in 2011 as it is these days. And he had a couple of really deep runs, certainly the one at IPL, I remember, where everyone was like, oh my god, he's playing fantastic, but then he did end up losing against Polt, I believe.
I would love to see TaeJa bring this back, man. If we can get more games than 2 clean sweeps, I would be very, very happy. I don't want to stop casting. I just want to cast all day. It's
not gonna happen, James.
Darn.
Sometimes you have to let it go.
I just have to let it go. Okay, guys, we can just go to a short commercial break while these players get ready for game number 3.
said that wars are only won upon the anvil of honor.
Others believe victory requires strategy and a mastery of power.
War is deception, a game played best from the shadows. Only strength and raw power can assure total dominance.
But of course, you could forget all that and just have fun! Hearthstone! Worlds of Warcraft.
Welcome back, guys. We're going to be taking a look at what's happened exactly in this game on Neo Planet. First, I want to talk a little bit about this map in general in Terran versus Terran. Thanks to Funka, by the way, for giving me some great insight prior to going into this analysis. I'm a Protoss player, I'm no Terran expert, but he basically explained to me that on this map, because of the way the map is, where you have a bottom path and a top path, it's going to make moving out very difficult. If you have a single blind spot, if you miss anything, you're going to be in lots of trouble. And this is clearly what's happened here. We had a few small fights in the start. I thought Bomber was going to do good with his first push. TaeJa held very nicely, but now we are at the point where the supply are very even, both in Walkers and Army, you see, 48 to 43 and 58 to 60. So anything that happens now is basically going to determine who takes the lead and who might win from there. So TaeJa right now, he's actually the one putting a lot of effort into having lots of vision on the map. If you look at TaeJa's vision, he's got a Marine over there on the right-hand side, one at the bottom here now, and even one at that base at 12 o'clock. So he's the one putting a lot of effort into seeing where Bomber may be, so that he can anticipate any kind of attack and not get surprised. So now he just scanned just above his army to kill a Banshee that was there, and now he's gonna start moving out towards, well, he's about to scan, I think, actually. The Banshee flies in there, he snipes it, he has vision above his army. If you look at TaeJa's vision right now, he sees a lot of, you can see, he sees a lot of the map, but not where the army actually is. So he's gonna start moving towards Bomber's base, and this is the cue for Bomber. I think Bomber was kind of planning for this. Look at his Banshee. He sends his Banshee first. He makes sure the army is not there. This is such a smart move here. This can change everything. He sees the army moving out. He's pretty happy about it. He's gonna siege the tanks there immediately, get in there with the Marines, start killing SCVs, and he might actually have stayed a little bit too long into the natural expansion. You see, start taking out the command center, then he's like, nah, it's useless, it's not gonna die, so I'm gonna take out some SCVs, as many as I can. And then he realizes that TaeJa is headed for this, so he comes back, but it was too late. He scans, he sees the army, he comes back. TaeJa ends up holding, but he's lost SCVs. He's lost 18 walkers in total this game. So, as Roti nicely pointed out at this point in the game, he has to do damage. He's behind now. So he has to go for some kind of attack, but an attack up front, Bomber will expect that. So he's gonna go for the very, very smart drop with 3 medivacs, which Bomber should have spotted, but he didn't. He maybe thought that since he spotted his 3 medivacs, TaeJa might drop here and attack into the natural, which this was, I guess you could call it a double bluff, and now he drops there. He's gonna try to kill as many walkers as possible. You see the walker count falling very rapidly, and TaeJa actually gets ahead on the walker count now. So he's caught up quite nicely with this counterattack. Bomber from there, he cancels the 3rd command center he was going for. He just canceled it right above there. And he's basically in a mindset where he's gonna go all in. He knows he's lost too many SCV, or at least he thinks he's lost too many SCV to come back in an economic game. So he's gonna only try to kill TaeJa from there. And TaeJa is gonna try to secure himself a 3rd, even though he has 2-2 on the way, whereas Bomber, he's about to complete 1-1. And I mean, even his combat shield just started now. He was so far behind on upgrades. He's never made an armory, he's cancelled his 3rd base. This was an all-in by Bomber. It was now or never. And TaeJa, he misread this. He didn't scan, he didn't try to drop again because he knew Bomber was inside of his game. So now, if we fast forward a little bit, we see Bomber moving out with the entirety of his army. He's not making SCVs at this point. He's quite far behind on walkers. If we look at the walker counts, this is purely and simply an all-in. 34 SCVs to 41. It's now or never. And I guess it was now because he ended up making it work. He even pulled the very few of the SCVs that he had. And with some nice positioning. At first, actually, the fight looked quite bad because of these 2 tanks getting a lot of surface area. But I think we can just fast forward to the last fight to rewatch this. And we see that even with fairly, actually in the army supply, Bomber had quite more, it felt, yeah, 81 to 51, and he ends up losing a lot of his army here, but he has enough to barely break TaeJa and take the 2-0 lead in the semifinals. Very nicely played by Bomber. TaeJa is going to have a really tough time beating this guy in TVT because Bomber is showing great form. This is going to be it for the analysis. Thanks to Funka again for the insight prior to doing this. This really helped. I'm going to be throwing it back to our commentary team, Kyle Harris and Rotterdam. Let's see what if TaeJa can bring this back.
Thanks very much, Todd. Okay, game number 3. Will Bomber go for the clean sweep? And the question on everyone's mind, can TaeJa bring it back?
Well, the question that's on my mind right now is, does this guy ever lose any TVTs? Because this really just does not make any sense to me. The amount of players that he's already beaten to get here, of course, they traveled a long route throughout the entire WCS Korea Season 2. It seems like he's close to being invincible in this matchup, and I really thought that TaeJa was at least going to put up a very, very good fight. You know, I feel like I've just sat down there. I feel like this series has barely even started, but
Exactly.
it's 2 already. Bomber is 1 map away from making it into the grand finals of WCS Season 2 finals.
Well, as we said before, Bomber here in the WCS system has not lost a single TVT series yet during this season and the previous season as well. So for now here, Bomber lays claim to a throne in TVT that is very hard to challenge. And TaeJa, the prince, can he challenge that throne? This is going to be interesting. He needs to bring it back. It's Belshir Vestige for map number 3. All right, so we're going to get into that here in just a second. It's all on the line now. TaeJa, the sun god, as some were calling him before, killing off all of those observers. That was absolute absurd.
That was a great game. That was a super great game. Like so many games we had this week.
Yeah, so fantastic. And now, spawning down to the bottom right-hand corner, we have our Red Terran, currently dominating TVT. Can he get the clean sweep? Give it up for Bomber! And a man that needs your cheers more than ever before, as he is 1 game away from ultimate elimination. Representing Liquid in Korea, give it up for TaeJa!
A man who knows what it takes to win in summer times, but so far, I think it's Bomber bringing some of that summertime sadness, as Lana Del Rey would say, to TaeJa, as this series has not been going very well.
That post-summer depression could hit him, we'll see.
Which is so unlike TaeJa. Wow, actually we can already see Bomber setting out a very early SCV here. He's gonna proxy a barrack. Is he dropping a refinery at home?
Wow, he isn't. Oh, there we go. Okay, so it looks like we are gonna have Reaper here from Bomber, unless he wants to just say, actually, I'm going to get a tech lab with the, because this refinery to me feels a little bit later than it normally would be for a Reaper. So he might get the tech lab, go for Marauders, which is a tout to an all-star, but look at that rally point. The rally point there of TaeJa from that SCV, or was it the barracks? It's the barracks. Ah, okay, so it's going to be the Marine that's go out there.
It's going to take a little while. TaeJa in game 1 went for a no-gas fast expand build. In the second game, he did drop the refinery. Now he did drop the refinery again. This SCV from TaeJa is going to spot this Rexo, and he's going to find this tech lab as well. So this is really, really good.
And this provokes a different response than if it was Reapers. He spots the barracks. A great read here for TaeJa early on. Even pokes away at the tech lab. Nah. I saw you, Bomber. You cannot fool me.
Small thing like this can change the entire momentum of a series. TaeJa right now knows that he's dodging a bullet, and this is going to put him in a very good position. Of course, you know, he hasn't completely won yet, or like this opening is not going to do any damage, but this is so useful for him to spot this so early on. We can actually see a factory going down for TaeJa already. He is not afraid at all of these Marauders.
A very important thing to note, whilst waiting for this Marauder to come out, he was working on the tech lab to try and stop any more from coming out later on. Any little damage you could do. A great pullback there of that first Marine. The bunker's going to finish just in time here, and the Marines are saved.
Wow, great micro by TaeJa. Takes a lot of damage on both Marines, but it keeps them alive. Did quite a bit of damage on this Marauder as well. And right now we can clearly see his factory timing is 30-40 seconds ahead of the one of Bomber.
Oh yeah.
And that is really sweet.
Yep, definitely here. TaeJa getting the most out of the opening here from Bomber, reading into what he was doing, making sure that he keeps himself well defended back at home. Now TaeJa has the opportunity to transition on so much quicker than Bomber. How can he shut down air assaults? He's going to see it, but he's not going to have a barracks at home for ages, so he can't make any Marines.
I'm very curious to see as well how he is going to do that. The good thing is though that this barracks at home, or that this barracks who's not at home, is at least going to get a pretty good scout off. It's going to take a little while before these Marines are able to take it out. what I like a lot about Bomber, not just in this matchup but in every other matchup as well, is that he is not stubborn. He decides to open a certain way, but if he realizes that it's not going to work because he got spotted too early on, or it's just not going to happen, he gives it up immediately and he transitions into something else. And you know, as easy as that sounds, I think, like, I'm personally one of the most stubborn RTS players in the world, and I think a lot of people out there can feel similar with that feeling. Bomber just drops it immediately and moves on, has a backup plan, and I don't know, you know, how he always does it, but he just reads it excellent.
Yeah. And I really like that not only is TaeJa going for a Banshee to try and exploit his opponent back home, but he's also going for Cloak to just say, well, I know that you don't have that much production back home. I know you're probably trying to get to a starport to get a Viking out instantly, which he starts right away. He's also going for the Widowmine. These two tools are going to all that he has until he gets a Raven out, and the engineering base on the way as well. So he's forcing a lot of investment. That's an interesting Widowmine placement.
It really is, but I'm actually like kind of interested in these Marines right now that are marching across the map, because if you look at Bomber's army, sure, he's going to be able to deal with the Viking, with the Banshee, with his own Viking and with Widowmines and stuff, but he has nothing to deal with these Marines, like absolutely nothing. He has one Marauder in a bunker, and that Marauder barely has any HP.
And we're going to see now. I want to see where the Banshee takes the path. Oh, and it dodges the Widowmine. So the gamble that Bomber took with that Widowmine is not going to pay off. It's going to have to be up to a second Widowmine or even the Vikings to help out.
But he does have a Viking at home. I think the second Viking is in production as well. So sure, as soon as Cloak finishes up, which is not ready yet, it's going to take, well, 5 more seconds. That should be enough, right? 3, 2...
Oh, it's going to be close, and there we go. He does get it. 2 more bullets would have killed it off, but there's the scan.
Wow.
Making sure he kills it off.
There you can see how much that actually helped Bomber already, getting all those free shots off, even before Cloak was ready. Sure, the scan, you know, with the scan, he was forced to use the scan. Yeah. But normally 1 scan was not going to be enough to kill that Banshee, and this time it was, because he got so many shots off for free. TaeJa flying into that base a little too early, and now he might fly in range of that Widowmine. Wow, Bomber. Just sick.
Eventually paying off for itself. A good move there by Bomber. Again, set up so early on, and now the supplies here are looking not too bad for Bomber despite the opening.
This is really crazy. There were 2 Cloak Banshees and he has only lost like 4 SCVs. Absolutely fantastic defense by Bomber, and suddenly, you know, this is not all that bad, as you pointed out as well. This is unreal.
Baby Knight, ever watchful. He was watching us last time and now he's here again. Bomber has the best TVT in the world. I have to go with that as well. He just knows what he's doing. He understands it better than anybody else. Even after that little opening, he knew the transitions. He knew he would be in an alright spot as long as he played it out from there.
But, you know, we had a lot of great games this weekend, but I think it's safe to say that the best one was TaeJa versus Innovation. That was a Bio versus Mech game, and this time, however, it looks like we're going to see that once more. We know that TaeJa has what it takes to play absolutely fantastic when he is the Bio player against a meching opponent. Bomber, however, is probably going to play a little different than the Innovation, as Innovation is that macro play. You know, he always tries to play it safe and steady, take another base, another scan, another Widowmine hit there as well. That's 3 Cloak Banshees. I think it's safe to say that TaeJa should stop making those for at least a little while. Yeah. But what I want to say is that, you know, Bomber is just really different. If Bomber wins one small fight, he probably just pulls all the tanks and runs across the map and tries to win his game. While Innovation is a polar opposite and just always, you know, tries to secure map control, take another base. But we know that TaeJa can play fantastic with Bio against Mech.
With Bomber trying to go for Mech, I would love to see a very 4GG-esque style coming out from him. A lot of heavy focus on Hellions early on, which can provide great defense and great assault. But now, there could be a little bit of doubt in his mind if he can hold this off.
And there are 25 Stim Marines on this on the map right now, 2 Stim Marauders as well, 1 Siege Tanks against only 2 Siege Tanks from Bomber. Does he actually have what it takes to deal with this little Bio army from TaeJa?
He's going to have to hold on strong. He doesn't have that much.
He had a small window. I really felt if TaeJa would have stimmed up the ramp, he would have been able to win the game. The longer he waits, the more ready Bomber is going to be. Soon that 3 factory production is going to kick in. You can see Blue Flame is on the way as well. 2 more Siege Tanks are on the way. TaeJa, there were only 2 Siege Tanks and a few Marauders. You can do this. He can still do this, without a doubt. Like, that tank is so exposed. That tank will fall within a second.
Oh, and speak of that, he's actually going to kill it off so fast. It does go down, as does the bunker, evaporating under the pressure here of this Bio. He's going to actually try and go for the command center. Will he be able to get it? He does get it off. Fantastic pick up there for TaeJa in game number 3. All the SCVs completely confused.
Great pickup indeed, but I mean, it's not over yet. Bomber did have a third command center much before his opponent, so he could eventually just fly that one down. TaeJa right now has to be careful though, because Bomber's army is growing pretty quick. A lot of Helvets out now on the map, or at least a lot of Hellions. We don't mind connecting with that tank as well. Bomber did like have a third command center already, so he can just float it over and retake his natural, which is exactly what he's doing. And now you can basically say that TaeJa's third base is a little bit ahead of his opponent. You know, that was a great pickup for TaeJa, and that was really good. But I felt he could have won the game if he would have gone for it immediately.
Yeah, could have been good there. But now Bomber's going to have the opportunity to try and play back into this. He's getting +1 weapons for his mech army here, as well as the armor going down for TaeJa as well. But at the same time, if we see a lot of Hellions out, they do have Blue Flame. They're very potent against high Marine numbers. We could see Bomber try and go for some kind of attack. It's going to be hard to catch up economically, I feel.
And is Bomber once more going to try to go up to 3 command centers? Because I mean, this was basically his third command center. He hasn't remade one yet. I guess he was kind of worried about his Bios army, which he should have been, so he was focusing on units for now. He's not producing any SCVs. He's making a bench. He's making a lot of supply depots. He's making Hellions and tanks. No command center, no SCVs.
Wow, TaeJa transitioning onto starports very quickly here. This could be interesting indeed, because...
I mean, but this should always be a base trade scenario, no? Like, Bomber is going to run across the map right now, but there's no way that TaeJa should just ever sit there and face that army.
Yeah.
He's definitely going to try to either slow him down or force a base trade, which should be good for TaeJa.
Oh, and he is so perfectly set up. He sees the army moving out in the middle with that one Marine on the watchtower, so he can just keep either his opponent... Look, Bomber has to come back. There's nothing he can do about this.
And every second is a good second for TaeJa right now. He's going to lose a couple of those Marines though if he's not careful. We'll end up losing a few medevacs here and there as well. Bomber did slowly but steady went back to SCV production.
TaeJa's kind of trapped a little bit here. Bomber's trying to hunt him down. Losing that amount of bio could be deadly.
That could be really deadly. Certainly when you play against Bomber, as we all know that he likes to go all out immediately. The reinforcements from TaeJa are going to be caught out of position in the middle of the map.
And those Vikings positioned to try and deal with that. He's adding on a lot more Vikings, and Banshee's coming in because he knows if he can control the air, if he can kill the Vikings off, Bomber's going to have no anti-air. He's going to have absolutely nothing. Hellions and tanks not going to shoot up.
I'm kind of worried for TaeJa right now. He has a small army supply lead, but a lot of his bio units are quite injured already. Yeah. And this is a lot of tanks. He's going to need to somehow get a really good engagement. But there are so many tanks. How is he going to do it? We know he knows how to do it, but can he do it on this moment?
Nice point defense drone placement here to try and soak up any Viking fire that will come along, but Bomber still does not know about TaeJa's trap card. These Banshees in the back could be absolutely game-defining if he kills off these Viking numbers.
And he has a higher Viking number right now. TaeJa losing a lot of SCVs, but that doesn't matter. If he's able to take out all these Vikings, that is all that he needs for now.
And he's going to work on this command center. He probably will end up getting it, but at the same time, the bio's going to come in from the back. The point defense drones are now gone, actually, here. He's established their dominance.
The tanks are on siege, and here comes the Stim bio.
A great engagement here by TaeJa, running in, killing off all of the siege tanks. The Banshee's going to work as well. Bomber's army melts. A fantastic engagement by TaeJa.
Wow, that was so beautiful. Just the way that TaeJa bought time for himself, the way that he won that Viking war, and then that one Banshee forcing the big unsiege, and suddenly TaeJa finds himself in a really comfortable position.
What an army TaeJa has built himself here. Still has that Viking advantage. Very important for those Banshees to be fully effective here in these engagements.
That was the best thing that TaeJa has done throughout this entire series. That was beautiful, It really was. But he should not get too over-eager. There is still a pretty serious mech army out here on the map. There are a lot of Vikings from Bomber as well. He should just be careful.
Yeah, he certainly does. There is the effectiveness of a point defense. Does he have a point defense drone? No, he does not. So the Raven just moves forwards, and it looks like that bio's going to stim in here, kill off that front line of tanks. That's a lot of damage been taken.
I don't really like this engagement that much for TaeJa. He lost all of his Vikings. He's going to lose these Banshees probably as well if one scan goes down. He was able to reset the tank count, and that is very important against a meching player, but he lost so much.
Could TaeJa just have thrown this game away? Now with all these Banshees moving forwards, it doesn't matter for that. He throws down the scan, supplies 109 to 83. Bomber here with 60 armor supply to 29.
I mean, we were worried about TaeJa perhaps getting a little over. He went up, he was already on 3 bases. He was mining off 3 bases, even taking a fort. Bomber is pulling SCVs once more like he did so many times already this week. And normally when Bomber pulls SCVs, he is going to win the game.
It's the game sense. Bomber knows how much TaeJa just threw away with those Banshees going down, with those Vikings going down. He has a great army here. And now TaeJa up against the ropes.
double the army supply right now for Bomber. TaeJa showed us a small miracle before when he did absolutely everything right, but he already used that hidden card with the Banshees. How is he going to do this once more?
Oh my god, he's got 6 Marines, he's got 9 Marauders, 1 Siege Tank. Look at this mech army barreling down on this natural, despite TaeJa playing a great comeback. I don't think it's going to work out. Bomber is controlling this game once again.
He's going to be able to take out this Orbiter at the same time. TaeJa's going to try to go for a small counter-attack, but I think there are plenty of units at home for Bomber, or maybe there's not. Well, there are a couple of Siege Tanks.
Yeah, they should be able to hold on strong for now here as Bomber continues to do a lot of damage to his opponent's economy, killing off command centers, killing off workers. TaeJa trying to remax.
It is possible though. It's 60 army supply against 72 right now. Bomber is basically only mining from one base. TaeJa does have that 4th base, but all these SCVs repairing these mech units here with that Tor as well makes it hard, but not impossible.
And he still only has 12 Marines out on the field here. The SCVs trying to repair that Banshee. Keeping those alive could be very good. If he can kill off the remainders of these Marines, then there's not really much to contend with those.
Look at this one hero Marine here. It's like, you shall not land.
If only the command center could land on him, that would be fantastic, but he dies for his troubles. Poor little guy.
Unfair fight. TaeJa, meanwhile, regrouping in the middle of the map. Doesn't have too many Marines, but he does have quite a few Marauders. And above all, he forced Bomber to keep a lot of units at home, which means that this army that he once upon a time had on the north side was his, that used to be his entire army, is not his entire army right now. It is going to be hard to engage, but I think he might have enough units here.
Wow, what a TVT. Some mistakes on either side, but at the same time, both players fighting back so vigorously. And this could be a good setup for TaeJa here. He's going to come in from both sides. He's on siege. This is the perfect time. If TaeJa goes now, he can crush this army.
A couple of units are a little bit out of position. Tanks will siege, but they are so exposed. What a beautiful sandwich here by the Liquid Terran.
TaeJa bringing it back once again, and Bomber's army gets entirely crushed, and he says, no, not today. Look at the army supplies.
Wow. Twice TaeJa, it looked like it was going to be really, really tough for him to hold, and twice he somehow was able to do it. That small hit squad he sent across the map that forced Bomber to lift up that natural, that forced him to keep a couple of units at home, gave TaeJa the time to somehow, some way get enough fire units out and eventually clean it up. God, TaeJa is playing really good right now. This is the TaeJa that we've seen throughout the entire season, or WCS Season 2 in America, and this is the TaeJa we've seen here in the group stage and in the quarterfinal, and the TaeJa that we love.
Yeah, a scrappy back and forth game, but now it really shows the persistence and the mentality of TaeJa here, being able to battle back from such disadvantage. Loses a Banshee, but I don't think it's going to matter too much right now.
He shouldn't lose too many SFVs though, and these blue flame Hellions going to town on this mineral line. You know, this is really funny, because we're 23 minutes into this game, and the worker count is 25 against 32.
And it really does define how scrappy this has been. Those Hellions will get cleaned up eventually, but they were positioned well by Bomber to deny a little bit of the mining time from this spot. And it's odd that we're at this base location as well, and there's like no third, and this is such a weird TVT.
But basically he's still up one base compared to his opponent. And I'm sure that TaeJa realized that he heavily overcommitted after he won that first fight. He doesn't want to make that same mistake again, and there is no need for him to do that. He has a better army right now, he has a better economy, and you know, just wait it out, play it safe, take map control, make it hard for that mech army to move out, make it hard for your opponent to take another base, perhaps even start dropping a little bit here and there. We haven't seen a single drop yet.
And it's important to point out here that TaeJa's upgrades are pretty awesome. He has 3-2 on his bio in comparison to the 2-0, just about to be 2-0 on this mech. So if he can hit before that 2-0 actually finishes, that's going to be even better for TaeJa.
That's actually massive. These 3-2 Marauders stemming in right now, trying to connect with these tanks.
A lot of damage actually being done to the tanks in the back as well as the front here. TaeJa with the superior army plows on forward. They're evening up a little bit here though. The Hellbats not doing too badly, even forced to land the Vikings. Bomber could battle back.
Yeah, but that door is really exposed right now. Bomber kind of, I think, like spreading out his army a little too much. It seems like TaeJa will win this fight and will win the game.
TaeJa bringing it back. He doesn't want that clean sweep. He doesn't want to go down and out right now, as we still have the potential of 2 more games, but that one was very close.
Yeah, that was really good. Once more in this series as well. Like game 1 was kind of like, game 2 was a little cool, and now game 3 was already quite cool, very back and forth. I think both players had moments where they actually were able to win this game, but TaeJa played it out beautifully.
And just rallying back every single moment of the time there. Akelon Wastes is our next map here. Can TaeJa bring it back? Another map. I would love to see a game number 5.
Well, I think everyone would.
Oh, yeah.
There's so much on the line, of course. It's not just WCS points. There is so much money on the line. Both of these guys already secured $10,000. But if you win this, even if you go on and lose the finals, you're going to go home with $20,000. But of course, above all, if you win this, you're still in the running for $40,000.
Wow.
So much money.
So much money, you're right. A huge steps up in terms of WCS points as well. If you get a top 2 finish or a first finish here, you gain so many points that you almost guarantee yourself a spot at BlizzCon. It's massive.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Like, there's no other tournament where you're going to get this amount of WCS points.
It's really good. And now here, Bomber, look at that face. He is determined once again. I don't think he felt he deserved to lose that game after TaeJa threw his army up against him after TaeJa claimed the advantage. Well, we'll see now. We can throw it to Apollo for a quick word from him.
All right, we have a 2-1 on our hands right now in the second semifinal, and it didn't look like it was going to be that way in the beginning of this match. Bomber looked really commanding. Let's start with that. You know, what was lacking from TaeJa? Because TaeJa was looking really strong throughout this tournament. Why was he faltering so much against Bomber specifically in this matchup?
Well, you know, the first game, I'm going to give TaeJa a little bye there. It was a really good build, good Banshee control. TaeJa's build wasn't really equipped for it, and Bomber kind of won. But that second game, I think TaeJa misplayed a bit. It felt like it should have been his game.
Yeah, in the first game I agree. It was Bomber playing very well and he deserves that win, and TaeJa shouldn't have even complained about that. Bomber just played better and that was his game. But Neoplanet S was absolutely TaeJa's map to win. Very weird that he lost that game. First of all, it was a 1-1-1 push, so tank, Raven, Viking, Banshee with a few Marines. The key defense to that is having tanks and Vikings of your own, which TaeJa had, but somehow he let it slip and he allowed Bomber to do a lot of damage, and allowing Bomber to get back into the game was the first mishap because it never should have even been that far. And then from that on point, TaeJa has made so many mistakes in game 1, 2, and 3, has made so many mistakes, and that's the big difference between TaeJa and the rest of the tournament to now, is he looked like the complete package coming into the semifinals, but he's looking really shaky here.
Do you think it's just the nerves, especially having been thrown off by the first game? You guys said, you agree that it was Bomber's game. Bomber had a good strategy coming in, he had a good build, he executed it well. Did that get to TaeJa a little bit, maybe?
You know, I think it probably did. That was such a strong build. It was actually very reminiscent of a build that Maru used to kill Innovation in WCS Korea on Newkirk Precinct. And I think it threw TaeJa off all tournament. TaeJa's been playing against macro-based players that are playing a longer, more strategic game. And Bomber's coming in with like a very sharp build to try to kill him right off. So I think TaeJa did get thrown a bit off, and maybe got a little bit cocky on Neoplanet S, because he should not have, for instance, when he first held it, walked out into that huge concave that Bomber had.
So game 3, I feel what we talked about so far also sums up game 3 in its own, because we've seen back and forth, both players overextending a little bit, getting a bit overconfident. You know, we saw the SCV train from Bomber, classic from him. TaeJa also going maybe a little bit too much with his Vikings at that point. What's going through each player's heads right now? Why is this not the form that we've seen both of them throughout this tournament, in fact?
Well, I think, first of all, for Bomber, he's like, all right, bit of a scrappy game from me, cracks his neck and says, all right, let's get back on business and finish this up in the next game. But with TaeJa, I much feel for this is, all right, I was playing bad, I got a win under my belt, let's do it in this next map, equalize it, and then go for the final game. And I'm feeling that now that he's got a win under his belt, TaeJa can start to make a comeback now. I think that's the confidence he needed to play better.
Yeah, I think TaeJa's definitely going to play a lot better in the next game, and possibly game number 5 as well. That win was very important, but it was kind of a weird game as well. I was actually very surprised that he went for Sky Terran that quickly. Bomber, when he does go for mech, generally is pretty aggressive for it. So, here's to hoping that we actually see this go to game 5.
I think there is one big alarm bell which TaeJa has to identify, is that even though in that game we just saw, he most of the time was playing from a leading position, but he was playing against mech and it seemed a little bit closer than it should have been. So I think that's something that he has to think about next game,
if Bomber plays mech again in a balanced, equal game, TaeJa has to do better. He has to actually play better against that, or he will lose to mech.
So the moral so far seems that both of these players, the opponent is not what they've been playing against this whole tournament. It's kind of new for both of them, TaeJa and Bomber. They had to take some time to adjust. Now it's 2-1. It's been 3 games. You think we'll go to a game 5?
I think there's a good chance. That win, you could see it in TaeJa's eyes. He was really relieved. He's going to play his best in the next game, and I think he's going to bring out probably a very safe strategy to make sure Bomber can't just kind of mind game him into the ground. So, yeah, I think we can get to game 5 here.
I agree. Game 5's coming up.
Well, we'll have to wait to find out, but Game 5 would be amazing in this semifinal. Once again, thanks to Apollo and Artosis, and let's throw it back to our wonderful commentators. It's going to be Calaris and Rotterdam.
Thanks very much, guys. Welcome back as we get up for game number 4. They said they want a game 5. We want a game 5. I'm sure you guys want a game 5 as well.
I'm very happy that Dan said there's a good chance. Like, he didn't talk in absolutes. Thank you, Dan.
Exactly. Thank you, Artosis, a lot for that. Akelon Waste is our map here as we now get on with it. As it's a very, very defensive map, but at the same time, wouldn't be surprised in the slightest if Bomber just goes, I'm going to be aggressive, man.
Bomber is Bomber, man. There are not many Terrans out there like him. He's kind of like the Korean version of Nama, I would say.
Yeah. That's actually
a little bit better. No offense, Nama.
Yeah, sorry about that, Nama. But now we can jump into game number 4 here as Bomber and TaeJa look to go at it. TaeJa, if he can bring this back, we will have that game 5 in this TVT as we have spawning down to the bottom right-hand corner his opponent in the red, representing StarTale and Korea. Give it up for Bomber. And up to the top left, we have our blue Terran representing Team Liquid in Korea. Give it up for TaeJa.
And in the last game, we saw Bomber go a little crazy with that proxy Rex. This time, however, he is not going to do anything like that. I am very curious to see how both of them are going to open. We saw quite a bit of variation all 3 games so far, even from TaeJa as the defending player in game number 3, but you know, it was just a little different.
And speaking of, well, a lack of variation, we have Bomber going for a gas at the very beginning again here. So this map's not too bad for Banshees. You can hide them between main and natural, but it's still nowhere near as much airspace as a map like Star Station. So Bomber's going to have a much harder time making those Banshees work if he wants to go for them.
Yeah, I think so as well. And I think the Banshee might be a little bit predictable. I think that's something, you know, that worked once, and it also perhaps worked that well because TaeJa was going for that no gas fast expand build, which delayed his stack a little bit. I don't think that's going to be the case once more, as we already saw that refinery going down in the main base. I would love to see Bomber do something a little different, maybe something with a couple of Hellions here and there.
And TaeJa for now just walling off and make sure he's getting that scout over there very quickly. So this is good for a lot of reasons. You know, just if he can get in and see the gas timing, then that is a very, very nice pickup for him.
It's so funny as well how different they go at the early stages of this game. Bomber is like, hey, you can see everything. I really don't care. I'm not even scouting myself, so why would I worry what you see? And TaeJa already dropped his supply to bow, even though he doesn't want to finish it up yet, even though he doesn't need it on that moment, but he wants to prevent his opponent from scouting. And then the funny thing is as well that often TaeJa is the one scanning his opponent first, always around 6 minutes, 15 seconds, while Bomber is just like, yeah, I'm going to see whatever I want because I have this aggressive opening anyway, or at least I'm going to see something with either my Banshee or with my Medevac.
Bomber just doesn't even care to attempt a wall off or anything like that to try, and he doesn't care if he sees it. And I think to that point, Bomber says, well, you now see what I am doing. That forces certain reactions out of you without even me doing any damage, which is a very hard spot for TaeJa to be in.
It's basically like, you're going to play my game, I'm going to dictate the pace of this game because I already have my plan, and you know, if you want to do something about it, show me. We saw the second refinery going down already for TaeJa, and now the second refinery is going down for Bomber as well. So double gas for both sides so far. No command center. Starport's going down a little quicker for Bomber as he's, you know, that greedy and careless early game. Doesn't lose any minerals. for anything, and drops that first gas a little bit quicker as well.
Yeah. And there's that Tech Lab finally on the way as well here for TaeJa, so he's just cranking that out where he can. So maybe we'll see, you know, a Banshee from him, but even that Tech Lab can still mean just a heavy focus on Raven very quickly into a Viking. There's still options available for TaeJa.
Banshee versus Banshee would definitely be a flash to the past. I haven't seen that in ages.
Oh!
Bomber is going to do something different.
Yeah. There were these two options. It's either the Banshee or the Widow Mines with a medevac and Marines. And this is a cool one because we haven't seen this from Bomber yet in this series.
I'm very curious to see how well these Widow Mines will do in TVT. Of course, it's not something that we've never seen before, but you don't see it that often either.
If TaeJa had gone for a Raven, that would have been the perfect response. But now he's just saying, well, you're probably going for Banshee. I'm going to go for to spot Widow Mines, right? But still, this aggressive position could be okay as well.
I mean, I would say yes and no. He really doesn't have that much DPS. So if he would have gone for a Raven, he might have actually had some issues being able to kill off those Widow Mines.
It's a good point.
Because he only has 4 Marines on the map.
Oh, TaeJa. Nope, you're not allowed to wall that off. Very, very nice done.
That's a good little scout for TaeJa as well. He's keeping all the units at home. These 5 Marines are also important. No medevac, of course, for TaeJa, and that's just his first Banshee. So for now, he's going to have to use that Banshee to defend. This is actually a little annoying for him right now, because he's going to have to play against a guy who has almost the same amount of units, but he's able to heal his units.
Yeah.
I'd be very surprised if TaeJa just sends that Banshee across the map.
Very good defensive setup there for Bomber at the ramp, and now those 2 SCVs, oh, so important! A great move by TaeJa, using those 2 SCVs to soak up those Widow Mines.
Yeah, that was actually beautiful. One of the Marines from Bomber died as well, some friendly fire. So TaeJa showing us that he's really not afraid. Is there a cooldown on that man? No, there is not, and TaeJa is actually going to defend this without using his Banshee. Wow.
Oh, TaeJa, this could be the start of a comeback here as we have that missile turret going down.
So confident, and then just doing everything right from start to finish. That's really impressive.
Very, very nice play from him. And now Bomber looks to go for Cloak as well as his own Banshees. So sending those across to try and do some damage as well. But TaeJa, he's already on his opponent's doorstep.
Now Bomber actually losing a couple of Marines, of course, with his little attack. Right now only has 3 Marines out on the map. This time he cloaks immediately, so that means that 1 scan wouldn't be enough. Man, this is going really good for TaeJa.
Yeah, it certainly is. Army supplies, well, not mattering too much. It's really that SCV count that is dead even right now, but that scan does go down. So that Banshee is going to be able to get away with lots of things, but this one is not. Bye-bye.
But even if the SCV count is even right now, and you know, Bomber might actually have to use another scan for this Banshee, or he's gonna have to wait a little bit. The second command center / orbital command is already done for the Liquid Terran, while Bomber's one is getting delayed and delayed even more. TaeJa in an absolutely fantastic position right now.
Yeah, and he's actually gonna follow this up with a frontal assault by the looks of things. His Marine count is at 11, whilst his opponent's at 3. It's gonna be up to start Bomber's like Widow Mine placement or something like that to try and make it work, because he's not producing anything.
And he's going double command center now as well, while he barely has any units. Bomber might actually be completely misreading this scenario right now.
Yeah, this is severe. This is really severe. That many Marines could just finish things here, along with that Widow Mine. Oh, just forcing his opponent out of that position.
Oh, I like that a lot, though. He was trying to go for a lot of friendly fire. It didn't really work. Bomber barely has any units.
There you go. GG. TaeJa ties up the series, and we go to the game 5.
And he's happy again. He is smiling again. When TaeJa smiled, and often he is at his best. And you know, it's been such a weird series, but we have a game 5 on our hands.
You get these fluctuations of you have one huge TVT where it's macro, 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 and then you get a series like this which is aggression, aggression, aggression. And that kind of change in TVT is what makes it, in my opinion, the most fun mirror matchup to watch. PvP is getting very good as well, but that's by the by.
PvP is extremely good, but I am a little bit biased. TVT is so much fun in HOTS, and it's been a lot of fun. I must say that like the macro games where those players are really able to show off their mechanics, I think that's when the matchup is at its best, when there's so much speed and all these fast med effects are flying around. I think that's the true beauty of the matchup. But you know, this is it's a strategy game after all, and lots of strategy has been used. And the way that TaeJa defended that very first drop, those 2 Widow Mines and a couple of those Marines, he pulled 1 or 2 SCVs, focused or made sure that those mines activated, and a little friendly fire was done as well. Sent that Banshee across the map, everything went good for him, and then just followed it up with another push. Really smart play by TaeJa, and you know, he had a lot of momentum perhaps after game 3.
Oh yeah, and a lot of smiling even now, after this long after the game. So that could be the confidence boost here that TaeJa needs to propel himself on. If Bomber loses this is the, well, we can see his reactions here after that game. He just knew that he'd done so much damage and he'd taken no damage, that his macro was strong enough in this very early moment to just crush anything he had. And look at that, little bit of a fist pump.
I mean, all of these guys, you can really see them fist pumping in the later stages of this tournament. Even guys that normally don't really do it, don't show too much emotion.
Yeah.
TaeJa knows what it is to win tournaments. He has won 5 of them, and those were all really cool and, you know, pretty big tournaments, but they were not as big as this.
Yeah. This tournament has drawn out a lot of emotion from these players. You're right, and it's very cool to see. As now Bomber looks as intense as he ever does, whilst we load up onto Derelict Watcher in just a little bit for this final game. So,
but I believe before we're going to do that, we're going to have Paul on the stage once more. So Paul, take it away.
Thank you very much, guys. We are going to take a little bit of a break now. The players obviously need to get ready for their 5th and final map, and it gives us an opportunity to just lighten the mood a little bit before a very serious 5th map. The question is, what would you take to a desert island? Let's find out.
PC, of course. We presume that there's internet and stuff there. I would take a PC.
I will probably take computer.
Maybe a Korean pop star.
키보드와 마우스, 이어폰을 가져오겠습니다.
Food.
I'm not sure about the third, but those 2 would be enough.
Hot girl. Cat and some stereo system.
Computer.
Alright guys, we are now on the way to game number 5 to find out who takes this series and who plays against Jaedong in the final. Will it be Bomber? Will it be TaeJa? I don't know anymore.
been such a long ride. It's been such a fantastic season here, not just in the European region, not just in the American region. It's just been fun everywhere. Korea has been fantastic, and the Season 2 finals here at Gamescom Cologne has been fantastic. This is the third time I've been at Gamescom, and I've never had as much fun as I had this time, and I guess that's partly because of the tournament. We had some absolutely fantastic games in day 1 and day 2. Today, you know, the games perhaps have not been of the same level yet, but the tension is there, and the storyline is there, and at the end of the day, you know, that's just as good.
It's hype, hype, hype as we now get into game number 5 here to determine our final finalist. That was the weirdest sentence of all time. But now, Derelict Watcher is our map, spawning down to the bottom left-hand corner here as our red Terran, representing StarTail and Korea. Give it up for Bomber! And up to the top right-hand corner, one game away from advancing on, representing Liquid and Korea. Give it up for TaeJa!
And America, James. America. And you know, at the start of the game, you guys were not able to see this, but TaeJa actually is splitting his SCVs in a very, very weird way. Of course, there's an auto split these days, but he actually had 3 SCVs just standing there for a small moment, kind of like they were not. He misplaced them, and then they were just standing there, and then he was trying to stack his SCVs. But I think it's very clear that even TaeJa right now can still get very nervous, as 3-4 SCVs were not mining for a good second, and you could see at his face he was a little confused about it as well. In the grand scheme of things, it might not matter too much. You know, that's maybe 10-15 minerals, but it's just those mental things that go into your head. Is like, this is game 5, I don't want anything to go wrong.
Oh my god, Bomber is going command center first. Bomber is going command center first in TVT, and TaeJa actually has a reactor on the way. If this is designed for him to get a Reaper out very early, this could be massive. Bomber, with the supply depot at his mineral line, was playing it super economically. He wanted that SCV back to the minerals as quickly as possible. Command center first on the high ground. If he goes for a Reaper right now...
I mean, if he goes for a Reaper, that's good, but by the time that the Reaper is actually across the map, there will be a few Marines. I think that is actually going to be fine for Bomber. Then again, TaeJa has not really been a Reaper opener throughout this entire series. He is going to scout it with his SCV, but Bomber is fine for now.
Yeah, okay, so no Reaper, and Bomber is going to get away with this quite handily. He's following it over the gas as well.
Bomber is such an annoying player to play against because he's so unpredictable.
Exactly.
And then, of course, that makes champions, man. You just don't know what these guys do. And I must say, I've really got so much respect for Alive as well lately, because in every single matchup, he just switches it up. Even if it's just a few small things, you know, maybe a reactor a little bit quicker, or a straight-up factory, or command center first, or a gas and then a command center. It just makes it so hard to play against these guys.
And TaeJa, realizing that his opponent went command center first, he's like, I'm sending my Marines over there as quickly as possible.
Not just that. He's proxying something as well. Is that a proxy factory on the south side of the map? Yes, it is. TaeJa is going to try to punish his opponent for this super greedy opening.
Wow. And again, this is why, well, there's many reasons why you don't see this too often, but Bomber is going to try and make this work. And if there's anyone that can make it work, it's the unpredictability of Bomber.
2 orbital commands on the way already for him. That's a beautiful sight in your production tab at 4 minutes and 10 seconds. Then you know you're going to be able to mine a lot of minerals, but really be able to deal with whatever TaeJa is going to throw it in. What do you think it is going to be? Is that going to be like a tech lab and then a starport next to it?
I think so. I mean, the factory's really well placed, so the tech lab can go down just under the minerals. So it's this is certainly what he's going to be going for.
So those Banshees are going to arrive so soon, and it wouldn't be the very first time that we see a TVT just end straight up with that very first Banshee. We saw Bomber having excellent Banshee control in game number 1. Well, let's see how great TaeJa's Banshee control is here in game 5. And, you know, he doesn't really have anything to worry about. It's going to take a long time for Bomber to get a Viking out. It's all going to come down to the control of TaeJa.
Exactly. There's not going to be that many Marines. And unfortunately for Bomber, if he tries to scout out his opponent maybe with an earlier scan, he's not going to get too much indication that this is occurring, other than if he sees gases, etc. But now with this, the timing is so good here for TaeJa that this could right out kill Bomber. It depends how well he has Marines.
Cloak Banshee, and right now actually Bomber is not even making any Marines. He's getting a reactor on his barracks, so that means that he only has 2 Marines out on the map right now. Sure, maybe by the time the Banshee arrives, it's 5 Marines, but 1 Banshee can easily out-micro 5 Marines.
He could just kill off the Marines and have free reign of this position for a long time. The starport's finishing up. If he does not get a Viking instantly out of this, That's going to be scary. He's setting up the Widow Mine in the interesting position because he's thinking that if there is a Viking there, he can try and lure it back with the Banshee.
Yeah, that is kind of cute. It's going to come down to the control. Oh, it's a Banshee opening over here for Bomber.
Oh, this could get really scary here. Bomber now, he doesn't know what's impending.
Dicey.
It could get dicey, man. It could get dicey. Gotta go back to it. Well, that Banshee, he's following over the second Banshee as well. We have Marines out.
We have 5 Marines out right now, and soon to be 7. There is a Widow Mine out on the map as well. If Bomber doesn't take too much damage of this, as Cloak is not ready yet, he might be fine, but once more, it's all going to go down to Micro.
Oh, he knows he wants to kill as many Marines as possible early on. He knows that his opponent's going to be low on the Marine count, so focusing those down is really important. That Widow Mine, yeah, the engineering bay is scary.
I actually, oh, okay, the Widow Mine is next to the engineering bay. That's kind of cute. There is a missile turret now over here as well. Mr. A little bit out of position. Not much mining for Bomber right now, but his opening is so much more economic. Oh, don't lose the Banshee.
Oh, TaeJa! No, that's not what you want to be doing. Bomber getting a free pickup of that Banshee. It did a little damage, but not what it wanted to do.
And the next Banshee might actually fly into the Widow Mine. It's sort of close, but no. Oh, Bomber, that went pretty good for Bomber. He's still up 9 workers.
Bomber's had the opportunity here. He's been given salvation. And these Marines now, they have to run away a little bit. Otherwise, TaeJa might actually try and follow this up with something very aggressive, but he has a command center behind this.
Yep, TaeJa does have command center. Good scan here. Actually, that might be enough to take out this second Banshee as well. Excellent defense so far by Bomber.
Oh, Bomber, he's making all the right moves and now putting on the counter-aggression himself with this Banshee. We've seen how well Bomber's been controlling them, and TaeJa, he has 8 Marines and one Widow Mine here to try and stop this.
This is going to be really annoying for TaeJa, also because his starport is so far away, so it's not like when a Viking pops, it can help out immediately. Bomber is putting himself in a fantastic position so far here in game number 5.
Yeah, very, very impressive. The way he's handled that, the advantage he has back at home, 42 workers to 29, and this Banshee's not done yet. He's going to keep trying to poke away.
This turret is ready right now, but still, he might still be able to get a few SCVs here and there. Look at the supplies. This is 70 supply against 48, and we're not even at the 10-minute mark yet.
And yeah, that Banshee's still doing the damage it wants to. Right now, TaeJa's down to 5 Marines alone. So Bomber, he's an opportunist. He sees how many Marines he's killed. He might actually say, I'm going to go for a push very, very quickly once my economy is in a situation that it wants to be, and it's getting close to that.
It's 35 against 46 workers right now, but TaeJa is on triple orbital, and we all know what triple orbital can do for you. At the same time, once more, he's going to be able to, or he's going to try to pick off a couple of SVs over here. Bomber has not shown us any signs yet of a third command center.
Oh, bye-bye, Banshee. There's no way you're getting out of there. And once again, army supplies, well, I mean, units lost. He's killed off 10 workers, but it's not been enough to equalize it up just yet.
Yeah, but he has a third orbital behind it, which I spotted a little bit later, and that's actually going to be really good. Of course, the tech for TaeJa is going to be quite delayed with everything that has unfolded so far in this game. And you know, how's Bomber going to go at it? Bomber was in a fantastic position like a good 2 minutes ago. Right now, I'm actually like, with that third orbital, if nothing is going to happen in the near future, like his stim is going to be a little quicker, +1 is way quicker for Bomber.
Yeah, the thing that I can see that's kind of scary for TaeJa is that he's only just added on 2 barracks. They've only just finished and he's adding on tech labs to those. Bomber's reactors finished on his barracks a lot earlier than this. Now his production is going to ramp up heavily here, whilst TaeJa is trying to catch up with an extra 2 barracks going down as well. So Bomber with this push could do quite a bit.
Bomber might be able to get some sort of a soft contain on his opponent. Yeah. I mean, having 3 orbital commands is great, but as long as you're not mining off 3 bases, and eventually, you know, it's kind of gonna defeat its purpose a little bit. While Bomber, if he has map control, look at this little Widow Mine, what a hero.
He's
oh my god, he might actually
What is going on?
What is this?
What's happening? No.
No.
What the? How did this happen?
Lol.
He only got
well,
2
that was
kills.
like the worst shot that Widow Mine could have ever taken.
Oh, poor little guy. He did so well, and then all for that. Oh well. Anyway, Bomber now, army supplies, 59 to 39. It reflects very heavily on what we were saying before about his production capabilities.
He is able to get a contain on TaeJa, and then with his own third command center pretty much finishing up right now, he's probably morphing it into an orbital. As soon as he actually starts mining off 3 bases for real, not just having 3 orbitals, but mining off 3 bases, he is still going to put himself in a really good position. We can see him actually marching across the map right now, and I think this is an excellent decision. As long as he can keep TaeJa on 2 bases for quite a while reinforcing this push. Of course, this is not an army that he can just lose, because that would throw away his entire advantage.
And Bomber's even worked in 2 Vikings, which are going to control the skies for now against TaeJa once this position is established. Again, the supply count very much in favor of Bomber here.
The Marine count is heavily in favor of Bomber. TaeJa has more siege tanks, but he has to make sure that he sieges them up in a proper position. He is floating over his orbital right now. He's going to have to pull it back real soon, because if that orbital dies, then TaeJa is going to find himself in a really dicey position.
Yeah, certainly is. Those Marines will have to pull back here. TaeJa has to pull away with the siege tanks as well. He knows he's in trouble. Bomber has too big an army.
Yep, but still, this could have been a lot worse if he would have lost a couple of those tanks, and he would have lost everything. Because he's down a solid 20 Marines, and he doesn't even have stim yet. Bomber does have stim.
Doesn't want to go too far here. TaeJa now contained, and we will see Bomber try and land his expansion in just a bit. But at the same time, TaeJa realizes that that could happen. So he has a drop positioned over to this left-hand side to try and deny that a little bit.
Yeah, not just that. TaeJa needs to buy time for himself as well. He's down a solid 40 supply.
Yeah.
You know, he's kind of saying he's going to try to intercept his reinforcements, but I actually think that army from Bomber is stronger.
Yeah, those 2 siege tanks providing a lot of firepower from the back, as well as the Marines just chasing them down. Nothing is going right here for TaeJa. 109 army supply to 73. A good position with those siege tanks for TaeJa, but at the same time, still needs some Vikings.
This is really hard, man. This is a terrible position to be in if you're TaeJa right now.
Yeah.
He's shown us before that he's able to work with those hard positions. Is Bomber actually retreating right now with the majority of his army?
He's just bringing it up in for a good concave here as TaeJa tries to break on out, but I don't think it's going to be doable, as a lot of Marines do die there, but still, army advantage is significantly in favor of Bomber. 111 to 60. Bomber doing so well here.
Oh, I love how he did that. He just reset the Marine count, and he's like, all right, I'm not going to run into all those siege tanks, because I don't have to. I am on 3 bases, and you are not. And I just resetted everything.
Yeah, it's a huge advantage here right now for Bomber. 66 Marines to 24.
Oh my god.
But TaeJa, with these siege tanks, if Bomber overextends, he could lose a lot. But even then, his army's massive.
But I love the Marine control in the last fight of Bomber, and I know that, I mean, it is his game right now. It is Bomber's game to lose. He's only going to lose this game if he heavily messes up.
TaeJa looking to try and establish that position. He has to do something. He has to break out of this. Otherwise, he has his lights turned down.
Perhaps he's waiting for +2 to finish up for his Marines, but no, +2 is already ready for Bomber. Bomber even working on the +3 and working on +2 armor as well, working on double eBay.
Oh, he thinks that his opponent's third base isn't down yet. He thinks he's committed more to this than he actually has, as Bomber's income is rocketing ahead right now, and TaeJa, he's got his third base down. Neither player can move just yet, but Bomber could sacrifice, once he's maxed, oh look at this, he has so many units, so many.
Bomber is pretty much maxed out. This drop from TaeJa might be able to do a little bit of damage in the natural though, but you're right, TaeJa has never ever spotted that third base from Bomber. I can only assure that he kind of feels like it's actually there, but he has never seen it.
I am very surprised that Bomber gave up that position for just a second there, but now he realizes he's coming back. He's cleaned up what was going on back at home, and this drop, this third base,
Seeker missile going down as well on one of the siege tanks, but this is indeed a very big drop for Bomber. TaeJa is going to have to keep this orbital alive. If he loses the orbital, he will pretty much lose everything.
But at the same time, TaeJa committing a lot to this assault. This might provoke Bomber to move in through the middle of the map. No, he's bringing his forces here to reinforce at that location, so Bomber still playing this out a little more cautiously.
So many medevacts loaded up right now.
Oh, Trish trying to bring up a load of those Marines to deny that third base as best as he can do. Very clever move.
He's just starving out TaeJa. Look at the bank from Bomber. Bomber is maxed out. He's on 2,500 minerals. TaeJa is on 150 supply and has no money.
He knows the unsiege. He's going to try and pick up as many of those siege tanks whilst killing off the Marines as well. Bomber with still a huge supply advantage. 120 army supply against 71. This could be Bomber's time here as TaeJa waning in army supply, but tries to hold him back again.
But Bomber's still in this comfortable position where he knows that he is mining on 3 bases. His opponent is not. Gonna cast a couple of Seeker missiles because he can, and you know it's for free anyways. TaeJa all the way down to 113 supply. Finally, we are going to see Bomber once more in the final of a major tournament.
We certainly may end up doing this here. He does deny the third base, but still Bomber with massive advantages at the front. An advantage in his weapons upgrades as well. Constant production here and making sure that TaeJa cannot buy from that base. Instantly locking him down completely now.
75 Marines against 31. You know, TaeJa's probably going to try to pull all the SCVs eventually, because that's like the only thing you can do in a scenario like this. look at this engagement.
Oh, Bomber here taking it to TaeJa, and now TaeJa down and out. Bomber doubling TaeJa's army supply, and TaeJa is all but spent. GG! Bomber advances on to the grand finals to go up against EG Jaedong.
Keeps that undefeated record in TVT, and once more Jaedong is gonna go up. Well, it was already sure it was gonna go up against the Terran, but he's gonna go up against the fantastic Terran at the finals of a WCS event. And you know, either of these two guys is finally going to win a major tournament.
It means so much to him, to the point where, guys, give it up for Bomber. It means so much to him, to the point where that was the most emotion I have seen Bomber show ever.
He's been waiting on a victory in a massive tournament since 2011. He won MLG Rally back then, but that's so long ago. Ever since then, he had good runs in so many tournaments. And you know, you looked at Bomber in the early stage and you're like, wow, he's looking good. Then in the playoffs, he's looking really good, but then he always fell short. This time, he hasn't done that yet.
And here is that winning moment of this series. TaeJa battling back so well, but in the end, Bomber realizing he is victorious. The smile on his face.
He's such a cool little Korean.
He's a pretty cool dude. He is a pretty cool guy. Very impressive results from him. And now, as you said, Jaedong or Bomber are going to take this championship. Guaranteed one who has had a really tough road in StarCraft 2 as of late.
If they could have tied in the final, I guess they probably would have. But you know, we are going to crown a winner today, guys.
We certainly are.
Man, it's been such a fantastic week. Or weekend, I should say, but it feels like a week.
It's been a week for me, man. I've had a few days before here at Gamescom having a look around, but that is, this has culminated in what could be an awesome finals. Jaedong versus Bomber. Two players that want it so badly here.
And deserve it so badly as well.
You're right. You're right. They have worked their asses off to get to this position. And I couldn't think of, this is going to be a great final. This is
the runner-up of WCS America is going up against the semi-finalist of WCS Korea. Bomber lost against the Protoss. He doesn't have to worry about that. Jaedong did lose against the Terran, but Jaedong has shown us early this tournament as well. He is, you know, he's looking good as, or perhaps even better than ever before. Bomber showed us yesterday that his ZVT is excellent. It's going to be such a cool series. I cannot wait to see. It's going to be a best of 7 as well, not a best of 5. Man, I am stoked. $40,000.
Oh, good stuff. All right, guys. From us, we can send it over to Chobra with an interview with the winner, Mr. Startail Bomber.
We have our last finalist here, guys. It's going to be a Jaedong versus Startail Bomber in the WCS Season 2 Grand Finals. And Bomber, after a long but victorious 3-2 full best of 5 against Liquid TaeJa. What a match. What a match. I mean, let's hear what he has to say first. 긴 진짜 5세트 다 하셨어요. 기분이 어떠세요?
처음에 2대0으로 이기고 있다가 3대2로 역전당한 게 아닌가 싶어서 정말 조마조마했는데 이렇게 결국에 이기게 돼서 정말 기분 좋아요.
After the 2-0 lead, I actually got afraid that he might come back all the way in that 3-2. So I was very anxious, but I'm glad I could pull through and get that 3-2 against TaeJa to win the semifinal match. 그러면 이제 첫째 세트 굉장히 깔끔하게 이기셨어요. 그 벤시로 정말 처음에 한 15개인가 그 정도 잡으셨는데 바로 이기실 줄 알으셨나요? 굉장히 완벽하게 준비하셨던 것 같은데.
사실 벤시로 그렇게 피해 주려고 한 게 아니라 정찰 정도 하려고 한 건데 생각보다 많이 죽여서 게임이 많이 그때 기울었던 것 같아요.
I hadn't planned to do that much damage actually with my Banshee. It was just to kind of hold him back. But it worked out better than I thought. I kept doing more and more damage to his economy, and that tipped the whole game into my favor a lot. Now we saw Bomber bring out something similar in Game 2, and there was a bit of back and forth on Neoplanet S. What was going through his head at that time? 둘째 게임에도 그럼 비슷하게 이제 벤시로 조금 먼저 나가셨는데 그 게임은 좀 달랐어요. TaeJa 선수가 많이 또 다시 오고 그때 그 탱크로 이제 딱 공격하시려다가 TaeJa 선수가 잡으셨잖아요. 그때 기분이 어떠셨어요? 그때
제가 싸먹은 장면이요?
네네네.
처음에 제가 심리전을 걸었는데 심리전이 안 통해서 많이 불리해져서 이 경기는 좀 힘들겠다 싶었는데 윤영서 선수가 조금 실수를 해주는 바람에 다시 역전할 수 있었던 것 같아요.
Game 2
didn't work out as well as game 1. A bit worried, but TaeJa made more mistakes than I did, and then more than he could afford. And so I was able to come back and win that game also. 그러면 이제 셋째 게임 자신 있게 이기실 것 같은 그런 모습이셨는데 윤영수 선수가 바로 알아차리셨어요. 그때 좀 긴장하거나 당황하셨나요?
사실 그 경기를 저도 어차피 2대1이었기 때문에 아무 상관이 없었어요. 별로 신경 안 썼어요.
그때 벌써 2대 0이었기 때문에 그냥 뭐 그거 하나는 시도해보고. So third match, I wasn't too concerned about game 3. I was already up 2-0. It didn't work out. That's fine. It's supposed to be a best of 5. And so I moved on with the match, and I guess that's the mentality it takes to be a champion, right? Bomber knowing that he has some margin to go in that full match setup. 그렇게 생각하셨지만 4째 세트 또 윤영수 선수가 이기시고 5번째 마지막 세트 얼만큼 긴장되셨었어요?
4세트를 너무 일방적으로 져서 이게 기세가 넘어갔잖아요. 예, 그래서 질 가능성이 좀 더 높겠다 싶었는데 5경기 같은 경우에는 제가 빌드에서 많이 이겨서 정말 많이 유리했던 것 같아요.
I thought that in game 3, yes. Game 4, it was a one-sided game, and that's when the momentum shifted to TaeJa's side on stage. I got really worried. I was very nervous, but game 5, my build was simply better. I had an advantage in build, I had an advantage in economy, and I pushed through to win, and that's how we had that amazing 3-2 and a TBT between Bomber and TaeJa. Give this guy another round of applause for going to the finals here at WCS Season 2, and of course, now we have a great moment where we're about to be enlightened. Is Jaedong going to continue his streak recently, or is Bomber going to fulfill Bomber's law? Let's see what Bombers think. 그러면 이제 이재동 선수랑 상대를 하시게 되셨는데 이재동 선수가 최근에 이제 한동안 준우승까지밖에 못 올라가셨어요. 근데 최지성 선수도 굉장히 가까스로하게 우승을 거의 하신 적이 몇 번 있는데 최근에 얼만큼 자신 있으세요?
사실 저는 그렇게 자신이 없긴 한데 이재동 선수가 결승에서 많이 지시더라고요. 제가 이번에 확실히 콩라인으로 만들어드리겠습니다.
이재동 선수가 그리고 이번 대회는 계속 프로토스전만 하셨잖아요. 그게 오히려 어떻게 보면 유리할 수 있다고 생각하세요?
아니요, 저한테는 불리한 것 같아요. 아무래도 전략을 어떤 걸 쓸지 잘 모르기 때문에.
You know, Jaedong has been losing a lot in the finals recently. I think that's to my advantage as I go into the finals. However, Jaedong having played only Protoss is more of a disadvantage to me because I haven't had a chance to look at any of his strategies against Terran. We'll have to wait to find out, guys. It's going to be an amazing final, a best of 7 between Startail Bomber and EG Jaedong. Once again, give a big round of applause to our second finalist here at WCS Season 2 Finals. And with that, we will give a quick word to you guys with Red Eye.
Thank you very much, TaeJa. Yes, it is a grand final. It's the final of the bridesmaids, forever not more, because one of them will walk home with the WCS Season 2 trophy. Keep your predictions, your support, keep them coming via Twitter. Make sure you use the hashtag #WCS, and also make sure you follow StarCraft on there as well. And if you prefer Facebook, it's facebook.com/StarCraft. When we come back, we will have the grand final of Season 2 and some special interviews with some very special people. We'll see you in a few.